It's a hump day Wednesday. It's actually beautiful outside. Like, it's beautiful out. I said this yesterday, and this is always a fascinating thing to me. When you go through a weekend where it is the polar vortex, it's sub-zero, it's wind chill, 15 below, snow has fallen, and now there's just ice everywhere, and then you get that just gray slush and whatever else. And then suddenly, when you kind of least expect it, you walk outside and you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm kind of used to this. And it's, say, 25 degrees. And you're like, this isn't so bad. If I get used to this, this is like, I didn't realize we were already at spring. And then you look and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Nothing's melting. Now you get up to 40 and it's like, okay, well, I'm completely used to 40. Whereas when it's 40 degrees in early October, I mean, it's holy cow, we got to get everybody together for a bonfire, and how many Snuggies do you have? Which is kind of how Monday Night Football against San Francisco. Their final two-step within the division with Jacksonville and Houston. If you would have told yourself back in, say, October, that in those situations they were going to be starting a quarterback that wasn't even on the roster at that time, that was retired from the NFL, that would have been the biggest jolt and shock to your system ever. But then you get to the point where once you get over the shock of they got a 44-year-old guy with a noodle arm that was actually coaching high school football a week ago that grabbed a pair of cleats on his way out from the little glass case, trophy case inside of his house that he has on display for his multiple children to look at, to know that at one time he played football before he became an old man. If I told you like in October that guy was going to start for the Colts, you'd be like, there's no way. There's no way. Grab 10 Snuggies and set the bonfire because I got to sit around and listen to this tale. And now here we are, a week before Christmas, with the Colts getting ready to play a Monday night game, and it's like, by the way, Phillip Rivers is still your guy. Okay, cool. He threw a pretty nice pass to Michael Pittman Jr. for a touchdown in their last game in Seattle. Awesome. Seriously? Yeah. But of course, it had to have been 56-7. No, you're not going to believe this. Their kicker hit a 60-yarder. A 60-yarder. The kid out of Notre Dame. Well, yeah, he started the year with us. I knew it. No, not that one. Different kicker. Oh, so they had to go out and then, like Michael Badgley. That's right. I forgot he'd been with him before. No, he's a nice player. No, not him either, because he can't hit an extra point. They brought in a guy off the street that's like 5'8", and he came in and he kicked at Notre Dame 5 years ago, the same time when Phillip Rivers was playing for the Colts, and kicked a 60-yarder. So they lost 56-9. No, they had a chance to win the game. But Seattle and Sam Darnold, the guy that's a statue, yeah, that guy. Okay, he's got some mobility, I guess, but I've never really thought of him as Patrick Mahomes. No, I know. But he went down the field because the Colts couldn't get a defensive stop. They could not get one tackle for loss. Well, surely Latu did. He was the first player selected as defense. Now, I get it. Well, Kwity Paye, I mean, no, I know. DeForest Buckner's still hurt, though, right? Yes, that's true. Okay, well, so tell me again. Well, they would lose on a field goal. If I would have told you all that stuff in October, all of it would have been the biggest shock to your system. But the way things have unfolded for the Colts and the constant change of the forecast, at this point, you almost expect the unexpected. And that's where we are. And it's not all bad. I'm not saying that. I mean, there is some reason. There's intrigue. Is there optimism? I don't know. Is there intrigue? Yeah, probably. They're taking on San Francisco on Monday Night Football. It's intriguing. But this matchup, and we'll get plenty into, because I've got a really big burning question about the quarterback position. And it has nothing to do, per se, with the play of Phillip Rivers. But I do have a question that hit me at 3:48 this morning. Laying there, and I'm staring at the ceiling. I got a ton going on, all kinds of stuff going through my head, and then it hit me. And I thought, yeah. And I thought maybe if I try to come up with this answer, it'll help me fall asleep. And it never did because it became this riddle, the Pythagorean theorem, that I could not solve. And it's a question about the Colts at quarterback that I'm going to get to here over the course of today. But I feel like this game with San Francisco is kind of representative of what we saw last night in the NBA. And allow me to explain. Eddie Garrison is off. He is still working with, my understanding is Big Head Federation now has joined up with a lighting guild. And so he was going to go ahead and return today. I think he's back tomorrow because the Pacers are playing. But they've still got him working with the lighting out at the fairgrounds, helping out with the lighting for that. And he's making good money doing it. But he wanted to break out a day early, but they said, no, you signed this little contract. And Eddie read the fine print. So he's doing that for one more day. And if Nathaniel, don't call me Atticus Finch, is in. Now, Nathaniel, I will ask you this question, okay? You are the pride of Western Boone High School, correct?
That's right.
You also were the pride of the University of Indianapolis, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
When you were between the ages of 6 months old and 7.5 months old, you lived in Denver, and as a result, you're a Broncos fan, correct?
Give or take, maybe a few more years, but yeah.
Okay. So and the Broncos quietly, like the number one seed right now in the AFC, right?
Out of nowhere.
And you feel confident that upholds, or is this basically the Joe Flacco Cleveland year or other such years like Tennessee had a flash in the pan year there late, I think with Tannehill, where they get a high seed and then they get in the playoffs and water finds its level?
I think they're here to stay.
Okay.
Do I think, they're a top 3 Super Bowl team? Maybe not, but they're here to stay.
Okay. So here is my question for you. Do you recall 2 years ago, and I believe it was 2 years ago. Matter of fact, I know it was 2 years ago, when the Pacers got to the finals of the first NBA in-season tournament. The Pacers beat, I believe, Boston in the semifinals at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, or at least late one of those games in the tournament at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. It was super exciting. The different-looking court. Everybody knew then that they were going to go. When I say the semifinals, before going to Vegas, because then they had to go to Las Vegas and play 2 games. And they make it to the finals, and they take on the Lakers in the in-season tournament, and it was a Saturday matinee game, correct?
Yeah, I remember that.
And literally, and it was the first year for it. And so we as Pacer fans, we as natives of Central Indiana, you as the pride of Boone County, okay, you're watching this and you're like, this is awesome because the whole country is watching it. And it was very surreal as a Pacer fan because, yes, the Pacers have been a relevant franchise and a competitive franchise for the better part of the last 30 years, with obviously some slide and exception and the brawl and other such things. But being at the epicenter, being in an area where they are getting to conference finals or they've been to an NBA finals before that is not totally off radar. But it was very exciting. I'll use the word surreal and encouraging to see this in-season tournament championship game on ABC ESPN on a Saturday in December, and you're turning it on, and it's like, holy cow. They've got all of the analysts up there, and they're talking about Tyrese Halliburton, and they're talking about the pace of the Pacers, and they're talking about Aaron Nesmith and this, Obi Toppin and all these guys that we're just getting to know here in Indiana. And the feeling is when you're watching it in Zionsville, when you're watching it in Whiteland, when you're watching it in Greenfield, when you're watching it in Greensburg, you're watching it and you're saying to yourself, everyone in the country is watching the Indiana Pacers, and this is the epicenter stage. And to a great extent, for many years, that's how it felt with Monday Night Football. Obviously, Monday Night Football holds a different cachet today than it did back when it was just ABC, Frank Gifford, Howard Cosell. I mean, the way back days, right? It's a little different now with Monday Night Football because there are so many, every game essentially is on national availability. But when the schedule came out at the beginning of the year, when it was impossible to think of 15-degree weather, when at the beginning of the year, the thought of a 40-degree day was break out the Snuggies and the bonfire. When that schedule came out, you looked at it and you're like, Monday Night Football, San Francisco 49ers, prime time, the whole world is watching. That's what's fun about it. They got a prime time game. They got a big-time matchup, San Francisco, Christian McCaffrey, this is big time, etc. And then last night, I'm kind of flipping through the channels, going through the motions, and I look and I see New York and San Antonio. And if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Nathaniel, don't call me Atticus, but if I'm not mistaken, last night, the final game, championship game, in-season tournament, right?
That's right.
And yet here we are only 3 years into it, and you realize, gosh, I barely paid attention. That was like passerby noise. Wembanyama's a great player. Jalen Brunson's a great player. The Knicks, I know the history of the Knicks. I mean, all of it, right? But at the same time, and part of it is because it's not the first year of it, but part of it also offers a perspective of, gosh, when my team's not involved, I realize what the relevance of this is outside of the market. So then I began asking myself, is that how it was realistically when the Pacers and Lakers were playing in that in-season tournament inaugural championship game when it felt like the whole country was watching, but in fact were the Jake and Nathaniels of San Antonio or New York just like, yeah, I forgot about that. I don't think so because it was the first year and it was on a Saturday night, right? But my point being, it feels to me like this Colts-San Francisco game on a Monday night is falling into the category of the San Antonio, New York in-season tournament for the rest of the country because people are looking at it, and the one thing of intrigue, perhaps the only thing of intrigue, I don't think realistically, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic, Pete, but I'm being realistic, Ricky, right? I don't think realistically the rest of the country looks at the Indianapolis Colts and is thinking of them as a late-season viable playoff push team. I think most people probably look at the Indianapolis Colts nationwide and assume or think that they're already mathematically eliminated because if they're paying attention, they look at Jacksonville at 10-4, which no one's talking about Jacksonville. They're probably paying attention to the fact that Houston's defense is playing very well and C.J. Stroud is back, and they had the benefit of a backup quarterback that played well for them. Donut tire, right? Good for 3 to 4 exits. Can't take it for the entire drive or else you're going to find out why it's a donut tire. And Houston did exactly that. They were able to pull off. They were able to go into Big O tire, get the new one on, and they're back on the road, and everything feels pretty smooth. But I think the rest of the country looks at the Indianapolis Colts and says, okay, that's a team that I heard at the beginning of the year how Sam Darnold was in this competition in Minnesota, and he had underneath him, obviously, Daniel Jones, and then both of them left Minnesota because J.J. McCarthy's there, and Darnold's playing well, and Daniel Jones has done okay. But as the years gone on, he started to show who he was in New York, and then I think he got hurt, and so they're done. And then literally they're like, nationwide, the narrative had to be, wait, seriously? Seriously? And here comes Phillip Rivers. Now, it leads to the big Colts question, which we'll get to and examine over the course of the day. And I know that Shane Steichen answered this question. If we have it, as a matter of fact, Nathaniel, we can let people hear it. Shane Steichen was asked the question. And I know that Kevin Bowen had posted this out on the X Post Twitter, and it was Joel A. Erickson that asked the question. It's a fair one. If Anthony Richardson, who has multiple starts for the Colts, if Anthony Richardson, who at the time that he was coming out of college, you trusted to make a selection as the 4th overall pick in the draft, and you handed him the keys right away. If you believed in Anthony Richardson's physical traits, if you believed in Anthony Richardson's potential, if you believed in Anthony Richardson's pluses outweighing the minuses, if you believed in all of those things from the beginning, and you handed him the keys, and what you saw was enough that you went out and signed Daniel Jones, and then Daniel Jones gets hurt, and Anthony Richardson has a freak injury and takes him out of the mix. And I do 100% understand and respect that Anthony Richardson's injury and the coming back from it just because he's medically cleared to practice doesn't mean that his body perhaps is ready for the physical contact of the National Football League. But that argument seemingly of we've got to get Anthony Richardson ready or up to speed from a physical standpoint, that narrative, while it is very plausible, you also cannot rule out asking yourself the question of why is there a different set of criteria as to the amount of time to be available to go on the field for a thoroughbred top 4 physically elite, a player whose physical characteristics are the reason you fell in love with them. Those now are seemingly inferior or are requiring of more time than a 44-year-old guy that literally was on the phone with Joe Namath about health insurance when you called him to see if he could actually come play your quarterback position. I got a guy in the other line about some white walls. And Phillip Rivers is here. Now, I get it because of the severity of the injury. I do understand that. But that question was asked to Shane Steichen, and here's what he said. Should I paraphrase it, Nathaniel?
Yeah, I thought I had it. Here we go. 1 second.
All right. This question posed to Shane Steichen. Here we go.
Yeah, he's cleared from the eye standpoint, but we're just starting to work him back in the physical activity of everything. So, the determination for him to return, we'll be working through that.
Open the practice window, stuff like that.
Yeah, he just got back into physical activity, so we'll see how that goes. Into it, getting out on, if we put him out back to practice and working out in the weight room and running and doing all those things and throwing, is what he's starting to do now.
Okay.
For Monday, those conversations will be had. But like I said, he just got back into the physical activity of things, running around and doing those things.
Color me completely confused. My name is Jake Query. It's 18 minutes after 12 on this, the 16th day of December, 17th day of December, 18th day of December? What is today's date?
17th. 17th.
So 12/18 on 12/17. I'm here to tell you, that made no sense to me. It made no sense to me, and I'll tell you why. All you needed to do is say, look, he had a severe eye injury. And yes, he is cleared to come back and throw the football around and cleared to begin practicing. But the eye itself, we still want to make absolutely sure that just because his vision is now unimpeded, that the bone itself is healthy enough to the point we want to make sure we're not putting him in complete harm's way. If you'd have said that, everyone would have said, cool, I'm good with it. When you say we've got to ramp up for him physical activity, the guy whose physical activity is the entire reason you drafted him. You drafted Anthony Richardson because of his physical activity. And somehow being away from the game for a couple of months completely eradicated his physical activity, but you trust the physical activity of a 44-year-old guy who the last thing that he passed for the last 3 years was Totino's and not passed on it? So the physical activity of Anthony Richardson, you feel that you need to give that more time. You know what that actually sounds to me like? We should run this through the elixir. I don't know. Did we bring the elixir over with the move? Do you know, Nathaniel? We should run this through later in the show. We'll see if we can find. We got boxes stacked up here. We're going to run this through the elixir later in the program. And when we run it through the elixir, we're going to find out, because I think what that truly means is this. What that really means is, look, this guy is physically gifted. And when I took over as the head coach of this franchise, I took over under the precipice that, in fact, the physical gifts of this guy were very intriguing. But I am a quarterback whisperer. I'm a quarterback coach. And the one thing that I can figure out, the one thing that I can determine is this guy, for me, the helmet tap, the showing up late, the not being where he needs to be in meetings or focusing all the time, I'm totally out on him. I'm totally out on him because the one thing that I should not be able to critique or point out about him is lack of physical activity. Just come out and say it. Just come out and say, because it screams of this. It screams of it. If Anthony Richardson was available to play, that sounds to me like a coach that is saying, look, I've got my out. You remember when George Costanza was trying to get out of his engagement? He was trying everything. He's smoking cigarettes. He's coming up with prenups. He's doing everything he can to try to get out of it. That sounds to me like a coach. And I'm not saying Anthony Richardson's a bad guy. I have no reason to believe he's a bad guy. But for whatever reason, it seems as though Shane Steichen has always had symbiotic relationship and trust issues with non-trust with one quarterback and complete trust in another. And right there, that sounds to me like a guy that is basically saying, and I know that next year you got a whole year, and probably, and by all account, on this, the 17th day of December of 2025, you can mark it down right now and record my words and come back and throw it at me in September when we're sitting around, and if it drops to 40, then suddenly we got to run to the bonfire because everything's copacetic in September, the weather's beautiful, and it feels great outside. In September, it's entirely possible that Anthony Richardson is your starting quarterback for the Colts and is playing at a high level. That is possible, but I don't think it's probable. That sounds to me like a coach that is totally out. That is totally out. And if Anthony Richardson was ever again going to take snaps as an Indianapolis Colt, you would think they would be doing everything they can to get that as possibility right now for two reasons. One being, theoretically, he would give you a better chance to win than a 44-year-old guy or a young guy that hasn't had much experience. Or number two, because you want to see what you have in him, not only for next year, but so that other teams can also see that. Those are the two reasons that they need, that they should be doing everything they can to get him out there instead of still having him walk around kind of in bubble wrap. And I may be totally wrong. I might be completely off on this, but I don't think I am.
You know what it feels like? How many weeks in a row did Steichen get up there and say, yeah, we're working through things with A.D. Mitchell. He's looking good. We're working through things. A.D. Mitchell's looking good. A.D. Mitchell. And then he's in New York.
He looks good for the Jets, right? Yes. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And the other thing is this. Instead of just coming out and saying, they should have just come out to say we need to be cautious with. Because what Shane Steichen, who I like Shane Steichen. I like him as a dude. I like him as a coach. I thought he coached a pretty good game in Seattle. At times, I think the arrows move a little fast for him. At times, I think he errs in getting too conservative or clock management, things like that. But for the most part, I like him. But if he comes out and says directly what it is he wants to say, then you got a real problem on your hands. You got a real problem on your hands. And I'll tell you what it is that is the problem and why we might be close to seeing it and why they may know that they are actually sitting there walking a tightrope, making sure they don't fall off of that into that area of this huge dilemma. I will tell you exactly that. The big question and what the answers are starting to point towards. I'll tell you exactly what that is on the other side. Stephanie White going to join us coming up 1 o'clock today. Catch up on some things that she said about Asia Wilson that were of interest. Obviously, Caitlin Clark is practicing with Team USA for the FIBA basketball championships. We're going to catch up with Stephanie and just kind of get an overview on where all of that is. Ralph Reif going to join us 1:30. We'll get up to speed on a couple of these injuries for the Colts, notably Bernard Ryman. find out the timeline for a Patrick Mahomes. There's a lot of discussion about that. Joel A. Erickson, 2 o'clock today. But the big question that the Colts need to now walk very, very closely, I'll let you know next.
Hellsberg gifts checked off the list. Now, time for wrapping. Earrings for mom. A gold bracelet to match the rings Danielle wears every day. And for Dad, a new watch, because we all know he needs one. All right, this is going to be a good one.
Our favorite things for your favorite people. Shop in store at Hellsberg.com for up to 50% off.
You'll get more than you expect with McValue at McDonald's. Like deals on your late night go-tos when the party goes till dawn. And savings on their faves. So date night always passes the vibe check. Plus, when the fam shows up for the weekend, you can show out for breakfast.
Enjoy a $3 sausage McMuffin with egg or egg McMuffin and pair it with a $1.49 any size Coke. Price of participation may vary, cannot be combined with any other offer.
From military life to a rewarding career in IT, kickstart your new journey in a matter of months in the fields of IT and cybersecurity, including AI. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including VA benefits.
1 second, I'm on my...
Okay, so now, Nathaniel, I've mentioned that we've moved from one building to the next. I think most people know that by now. So we have some things in the boxes, and we each had to put our possessions in a box, and then they got a moving company that moved this stuff over, which was tremendously helpful, and we appreciate that. And the engineers have been doing an unbelievable job of – it's not an easy situation. I mean, to move several radio stations from one location to the next, they did a great job with it. But one of the things that we weren't sure whether or not we brought over was the Elixir. And you said that you found it, right? You heard it beeping over there. It looks like Simon. There are lights going off and all kinds of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, we found it.
Okay. So here's how the Elixir works, okay? we play a sound clip from a coach or an athlete. We run it through the Elixir. Now, I bought there are several packages that you can buy with this, but I bought kind of the inexpensive one. And I had initially I had the 90-day free trial. And then that, all of a sudden, I got a statement that said, you've been charged $9.99 per month. And I thought, what in the world is that for? I know I've got all the apps and I can watch all the different shows and whatever else. I'm actually currently I'm engrossed in a soap opera from Bangladesh, which I didn't think I would like, but it's on one of the apps, and I think I paid for it, so I'm watching it. So the Elixir, I went ahead and paid for the year for the Elixir, and what we do is we run a sound clip from a coach or an athlete through the Elixir. It then translates it and spits out what the athlete really wants to say, which is a fascinating thing. Now, when it comes to Anthony Richardson, I know that he was coming off of, and I'm not making light of it. I'm not. I mean, it's a terrible freak accident that happened to Anthony Richardson Sr., as he's known now. And the device where he was using a rubber band to stretch his legs snapped. He got hit in the orbital bone, that is basically the bone around your eye socket or your eye socket bone, fractured it. And my understanding is, that is a horrific thing. That is terrible. And I am grateful, as I think anybody is, as a person beyond just the athlete, that he is healthy from that and has healed. But once he was cleared to return to practice, and I know that he was on IR, he missed 4 games or 5 games or whatever it was, and he's now been cleared to return to practice. And it's not like he's returning and Daniel Jones is still at the helm and the Colts are 10-3. He's returning where you are teetering on the year getting away from you. And Daniel Jones is not there, and so they signed Phillip Rivers, who comes in. And the question then became, if Phillip Rivers is able to come up off of a high school football coaching tenureship at the age of 44 and physically is able to play, then what is it that is holding back Anthony Richardson from getting the reps for you, especially when theoretically and seemingly he is your second best quarterback or should be your second best quarterback? Now, here's how we do this, Nathaniel. We're going to play the clip from Shane Steichen answering that exact question, and then once we play it, you will run it through the Elixir, and we'll get the reality of what he is really saying. Okay, here we go. This is the clip from Shane Steichen.
Yeah, he's cleared from the eye standpoint, but we're just starting to work him back in the physical activity of everything. So, the determination for him to return, we'll be working through that.
Okay, and then...
What am I supposed to say? I'm pretty sure he can see. I've seen what I need to see. I don't think I need to see anymore. He can't play. I'll take the senior citizen over senior.
Oh, wow. The Elixir getting
That's
a little
brutal.
salty, right?
Jeez.
Little salty. Here's the question that comes into play with all of it. And I may well be wrong. Anthony Richardson might be the quarterback of the future of the Indianapolis Colts. But does anybody really, truly, deep down believe that? Does anybody really, truly, deep down believe that Anthony Richardson is the guy that they're going to go back? And he may be. And I hope, you know what? I hope it's the case. I do. I think it'd be an unbelievably great story. And we love great stories. We love comeback stories. We love redemption stories. We love getting up off the mat and coming back and shocking the world. That's what sports is all about. And I hope it happens. I do. And it may. But it doesn't sound like it. Because if this guy, you've got to wait for him to get back for his to ramp up physical activity. Just tell me that you don't want him playing. The problem is Shane Steichen can't come out and say that he doesn't want Anthony Richardson on the field, and Shane Steichen can't come out and say that he doesn't trust Anthony Richardson on the field, because that is an indictment on the exact thing that this franchise sold everyone on when he was drafted. When he was drafted, it was the Colts, not me, not JMV, not Kevin Bowen, not James Boyd, not Jeff Rickard, not Mike Chappell, not Joel Erickson, not Eddie Garrison. It was the Colts that said if we had the number 1 pick, it is still the guy we would have selected. The Colts said that. And when he was throwing a 65-yard dime to Alec Pierce, you saw why. Holy cow, look at this guy. Unbelievable. That right there. And I sat up there in Lucas Oil Stadium when he completed that pass, and I said, well, that's why they got him right there. Unbelievable. Amazing talent. And his ability to scramble and everything else. But what was the narrative about him at Florida? Couldn't stay healthy. Couldn't stay healthy. And so the Colts told us at the time that the fact that he couldn't stay healthy was overshadowed by his athleticism and his unique traits as a quarterback. And just wait until you see it. And now, what are we finding out? We can't get to see all of those things on display because of the fact that, physically speaking, he is not at the point where the activity is, his body is ready for it. The physical activity, his body's not ready. It's unfortunate. I hope I'm wrong. I may well be wrong. But it absolutely feels like this is the Colts telling us that we're not going to see Anthony Richardson take another snap with the horseshoe. I may well be wrong. Maybe he plays in the second half against San Francisco. Maybe he plays against Jacksonville or Houston if Phillip Rivers pulls a hammy and Riley Leonard, they decide that they don't want to go with that. I don't know. That's possible. It's possible. I mean, Kevin Garnett said it. Anything's possible. And in sports, anything is. But it certainly feels like the table is being set, not by me, not by Eddie, not by Nathaniel, not by James, Jeff, John. But the Colts are setting the table to let us all know that, in fact, if he ain't going to play this year, then when are you going to do it? Because I think that the thought is now, Daniel Jones, you try to get him back, you try to get him healthy, and even if Daniel Jones is healthy next year but not able to go full throttle, if he can't go into, wait for it, physical activity until November of next year, then you run the risk you can't run out Anthony Richardson at that point for 2 or 3 games and then yank him back out because what if A, he's playing really well and now you've developed yourself a quarterback controversy, or B, he plays well to the point where then you start to discuss and have the mention of what do you do in terms of signing him beyond that when you already now have invested into Daniel Jones. And Jones, I think, will come at lesser a cost than would Richardson, because of the fact he's coming off the injury. Although I'm saying if Richardson had time to show and started to show some glimpse of what he could do. Butler was in action last night against UConn. Braylon Mullen's really good. Really good. And I think he's probably, if he wants to be, it looks like the reigning Indiana Mr. Basketball could be a one and done in Storrs, Connecticut, because he's really good. He's not a guy that jumps out and, you look at the box score and you go, well, he didn't have 25. But he is so offensively fluid and efficient. And he can do so many other things on the floor that it feels like he is playing his way into NBA lottery conversation. But Butler got out to a good start last night. Then Connecticut, on the road look, it's a top 5 team, right? I will readily admit that I don't know still this Butler roster and team probably like I should, but certainly as well as Indiana and Purdue. But last night, that taking place in Connecticut. Stephanie White going to join us coming up at the top of the hour. And Stephanie told me yesterday when I talked to her, she said, well, I'm going to be on a flight, but I will be off the plane, and then I'll be available about 1. And I said, well, can I guess where you're flying from? I do know this. She was in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, as part of the Team USA women's basketball. She's doing work with them, and that is for the FIBA Women's Basketball Championships of 2026. So the easy guess would be that she's going from Raleigh home. But they were done like over the weekend. Would you like to guess where she's flying from, Nathaniel? Is she going? Do you think it's a basketball trip, or do you think it's a vacation, she went on vacation?
Well, she does a lot of work in the NBA, so I would guess a basketball trip.
Okay, that's also, yes. But again, NBA though right now on like this odd lull,
little
right?
hiatus.
It's almost like the All-Star break. She's going to join us at 1 o'clock, and we will get into that. And I want to tip the cap to a couple of things before that, and I'll do it next. Hey there, Jake Query for Chicago's Pizza, 18 Central Indiana locations for Chicago's Pizza. And I was just reading over a list of the different organizations that they helped out over the course of the holiday season. Up until 10 days before Christmas, they were still taking in, Shop with a Cop and different donations in terms of organizations around the city of Indianapolis helping out for the less fortunate. That's what Chicago's Pizza does. Give back to the community, and you're going to see more of that in 2026. I look forward to telling you about the great things that Ron and all of the great folks at Chicago's Pizza are doing. These folks I've gotten to know over the course of the last year, and I'm grateful for it because not only is the pizza fabulous, not only do you get the lunch buffet for just $13 between 11 and 1:30 every single day at their 18 Central Indiana locations and 25 statewide, but you also get the family meal deal, 2 medium, 1 topping pizzas and a fresh order of breadsticks for just $25, all with a company that I can assure you family-based and just one of those where they are just darn good people. That's the best thing about Chicago's Pizza, on top of the fabulous pizza, whether it be traditional, whether it be the deep dish pizza that they have, the dessert pizza, and the hand-rolled breadsticks. Find a location near you, chicagospizza.com. Nathaniel, don't call me Atticus Finch. You realize, by the way, Nathaniel, and I'm very proud of this, that Eddie Garrison, when referencing you to me, calls you now strictly Atticus. Now that
You're the
bothers
only
you,
one that
doesn't
I've
bother
ever heard that from. And now it's
I mean,
spreading.
Well, hold on, but you got to be. You're being sarcastic there, right?
No, I've never. No one's called me Atticus. When you said it, I'm like, holy cow! How is that the first? I mean, how have I lived at that point? 20-something years and never heard of it.
Well, were you familiar with To Kill a Mockingbird?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I loved it because everyone's name is Finch, but no one ever called me Atticus.
I could have called you Scout, right?
I'm happy you didn't.
Right? I mean, Boo Radley's not a Finch, right? He's just like a friend. So, nonetheless, Nathaniel, don't call me Atticus Finch, is filling in today for Eddie. And now the schedule is you're here for the rest of the year, right? Is that right? And then most of 26? Apparently they haven't told you this yet. I'm being sarcastic.
Okay, all right.
A couple of things I wanted to point out. Stephanie White coming up in just a couple of minutes. First off, to the text line. You can always text the show at 317-239-1070. Also, to my, and I hope that the station doesn't mind, because they have that software that came with the Elixir for the station text line. But then also people text me directly. 523-9288 is my cell phone number. 523-9288. This from Joe. Jake, I think you're right. Shane is done with Anthony. This from John. It's almost like he'd rather him be on IR so he just wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. He sounds like he's just annoyed by the availability of Richardson, like a gnat at a barbecue just bugging him. None of this is a knock or critique on Anthony Richardson as a person. But as a player, it absolutely feels like that is the case. Like it feels like he's done with him. Do you happen to have the breaking news sounder? This just in, it's a story that we have had our ears and eyes on from the very beginning. And it is not one that is fun to report because I have appreciation, respect for all parties involved, really. But there is now a lawsuit that has been placed and filed for players of IU Indy against their former basketball coach, Paul Casaro. I'm reading this from the Indianapolis Star, this just coming out. 6 former Indiana University Indianapolis men's basketball players are suing the university and its trustees, so not against Casaro himself, regarding the alleged abuse they suffered under the watch of the team's former coach, Paul Casaro. As soon as the players arrived on campus, Casaro subjected them to relentless psychological and physical abuse or harassment, according to court documents. He was relieved of his duties after 1 year. So my apologies for the wording that I initially said that. The lawsuit is not against directly Paul Casaro, but rather against the university for the fact that Paul Casaro was their coach. Now, on the other side of it, before we got to that breaking news, I did want to point out just a couple of shout-outs, if you will. I think it's a new thing I'm going to do. I'm going to do a new thing on the show just occasionally because you can't do it all the time. When you do it all the time, then, after a while, it dilutes itself down a little bit, or it seems forced, if you will. But the other night, for example, I was driving home and I walked into the Village Pantry on Broadway Avenue. It was about 9 o'clock or so. And I was looking for, actually, it was when and I have no idea. This might be a myth as to whether or not this stuff's even needed. But when the temperature gets like super cold, and I knew that we were getting ready to go to Milwaukee and my car was going to be sitting outside for a couple of days. So I wanted to find heat. Now, Nathaniel, have you ever put heat in your car? It's the gas line antifreeze that prohibits your gas from freezing, which is probably some sort of
I've seen it.
Probably a marketing scam because I'm guessing that gas doesn't freeze anyway, but there's like this peace of mind, right? So I went to a couple of gas stations. They didn't have them. I was on my way home, and I'm like, you know what? VP might have it, Village Pantry. So I stopped at the Village Pantry on Broadway Avenue, and I walk in looking for a bottle of heat. And when I walked in, and I've gone to that Village Pantry off and on for over the years, for 30 years probably. I worked in Broadway for years. And I walked in and I stopped and I looked around and I'm like, and I saw one thing in the store. Two things I saw. One was a woman. I'm going to guess she was 10 to 15 years older than I. And the other was a mop bucket. That clearly she had vacated the mop bucket to go behind the counter to assist me with whatever I needed. And I said to her, you know what? I've been in this Village Pantry for years, and I've never seen it more spotlessly clean, ever. And she gave me this huge grin and said, well, thanks. I just think that my job when I'm in here is to make sure that everything looks good, and I might as well keep myself busy. And she goes, matter of fact, I just cleaned the freezer because why not? And I looked around and I said, every single inch of this place is perfectly symmetrically where it needs to be. And there's not and it's not easy this time of year because everybody's tracing in salt and everything else. And I said to her, honestly, how long have you worked here? Well, I've worked here about a year. I worked the overnight shift, but I consider it kind of like my baby. And so I need to keep it clean. And I said, what's your name? Bambi is her name. Bambi grew up on the east side of Indianapolis. She told me that she went to school 54, even though she lived right across the street from a different school, but got bused over to 54. And she said she loved it because she loved the kids and the education. But then her busing got rerouted and redistricted. She ended up going to a different school, went to Howe High School, and now works at the VP. And I love anybody that takes a pride in their work and makes sure that they're doing their work to the best of their ability. And I have no idea who owns Village Pantry these days. It used to be Marsh. I have no idea. But whoever it is my hope. If you know anybody that has any connection to the VP in Broadpool, you tell them that Bambi's got that place absolutely shining, and there's a pride in that, and I can appreciate it, and I respect it. Additionally, hey, Jake, wanted to tell you about a young lady named Emily who works at the Kroger at 79th and Fall Creek. She's there every morning. Super sweet, works super hard, always says hello and goodbye and have a nice day when you walk out. She is one of those people that in the morning time, it just makes it better every time that I go and see her, and it makes it worth going to Kroger. So Emily at the 79th and Fall Creek, and I actually am in that area a fairly decent amount now. So I will absolutely stop in and say hi to Emily. But it's those things, I'm telling you. I think that we get so caught up in, and we make such a thing about, and on this program, we talk about NFL quarterbacks and NBA point guards and coaches that are like Curt Cignetti, and congratulations to him, a two-time Coach of the Year. Now, two-time AP Coach of the Year in college football for Curt Cignetti. No surprise whatsoever. We talk about people, and another great story for that matter, like at Indiana State, okay? At Indiana State, you have this situation where Coach Graves goes in and feels under the weather, and the next thing you know, he's having to get double bypass or quadruple bypass, triple bypass? I can't, and I'm not making light of it. A massive heart surgery, okay? But Matthew Graves, this from Indiana State. Indiana State Athletics is thrilled to welcome back Matthew Graves to the sideline tomorrow night as the Sycamores host Bradley inside the Holman Center. Coach Graves will be serving in a limited role until fully cleared. He is deeply grateful to the doctors and nurses at Union Health for their exceptional care and support throughout his recovery. Let's make sure to give Coach Matthew Graves a big, warm welcome back on Thursday night. Congratulations, and awesome there to hear about Matthew Graves.
Triple bypass.
Triple bypass. That is absolutely no joke at all. But we talk so much about people that are at the top of their profession. And we talk so much about victories and team wins and celebrating them and Super Bowls and who's going to be the best, etc. The reality is that there are people going out every single day, and one person's Super Bowl is another person's wild card, and one person's World Series is another person's making the Little League roster. It's all relative. And so, to me, you have to applaud, commend, and recognize the success of somebody going in and simply saying, I am letting my work be fueled by my pride in doing the right thing and going about it the right way. Which is why if you see Bambi, stop in and say hi. You see Emily, stop in and say hi. You see my man Alex at Market Square Popcorn in Castleton, stop in and say hi. Stephanie White is one of those that has always had kind of that, I guess, approach to things. It goes without saying, you do not become a Miss Basketball. You did not become a scoring leader. You did not become an NCAA champion. You did not become a WNBA player, a WNBA coach, an international coach, a television broadcast and radio broadcast analyst of games without having an everyday approach to going about things and making sure that you're doing it to the best of your ability. And she's had a busy offseason. Weird to say offseason when we are in the thick of it for so many sports right now, including for the Pacers. But Fever offseason, that means international season, and Stephanie White's been busy with that. We'll catch up with her. We'll catch up on what she said about Asia Wilson, the latest with where Caitlin Clark is, and also the international basketball and, let's face it, WNBA and their collective bargaining agreement. A lot to catch up on, and we'll do it next. Okay. So, if you're new to the program, where have you been? When Stephanie White was kind enough to join us over the course of the WNBA season, we would take her musical requests each and every week. And it was Kenny Chesney at one point. I think we went Hootie and the Blowfish at one point. I don't think we ever did Two Live Crew. But then I asked her what she wanted for this, and so she picks the song that instantly makes you feel like you're walking through any mall in 1995, right? And most people say that's the most annoying Christmas song of all time. I got to admit, catchy. Don't you think it's catchy, Nathaniel?
It's catchy. You know, she's our only guest that gets to pick their reentry.
I know. That's what she's earned that right. She joins us now on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line. She is the head coach of the Indiana Fever, amongst her broadcast duties with basketball as well. Stephanie White joining us. Merry Christmas, Stephanie.
Merry Christmas.
So you like the song, or it's become so ubiquitous in the American culture you decided to go with it because we're a week away?
I love this song. In fact, when the first song that's played when we're decorating the Christmas tree the day after Thanksgiving is that song. It's iconic.
Okay, that's fair. Now, what's the second one? Okay? Let me ask you this: give me the Christmas carol of the Christmas carol's the wrong word, but the recorded Christmas song that other people like that you're like, yeah, okay, no.
You know what? I love Christmas music, so there's probably not one that I would say no, I don't like. So I'm a big Christmas music fan. If I could start Christmas music after Halloween, I would.
Okay. I'm cool with that. The one that I like, and you tell me if you consider this a Christmas song. I mean, it kind of is, but it's more Christmas was, and that is "Do They Know It's Christmas" by Band-Aid, which obviously was a fundraiser in 1985, trying to raise money for Feed the World. You know the song, right?
I don't know the song. You're going to have to find that song and play it at some point.
Okay, Nathaniel, find "Do They Know It's Christmas" by Band-Aid. You'll know it when you hear it. I'm introducing it in a terrible way. All right, let's begin with this. When I asked if you could come on, because we have a number of things I want to get to, you mentioned that you had a flight today, and I was going to guess your flight. And then I looked, and I cheated a little bit because I know you were just in Raleigh, North Carolina, correct?
I was.
So I'm going to guess that you were flying, but then again, so I think most people know this, that you spend your off season outside of Indiana, right?
That's correct.
But that would have only been like an hour flight. So I'm going to guess that you were not flying from Raleigh. I'm going to say that you are taking advantage of a little bit of downtime in basketball, and you are enjoying the warm weather for a few days, and you're in Florida.
No, that's not right. I was actually flying home to Nashville from New York from an event last night. So, I'm popping around right now.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, let's begin with this. The involvement and the reason that you were in Raleigh, okay? The U.S. women's team, if I'm not mistaken, and totally feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, is getting ready for the FIBA Women's Basketball Championships of 26. That includes Caitlin Clark, and you are part of that group that is coaching and overseeing it. Now fill in the blanks where I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's a group that had our first mini camp of the cycle. We'll have another one in the spring, most likely at the Final Four. A lot of new young players. Of course, Caitlin Clark was one of those. Aaliyah Boston was there as well. Kelsey Mitchell was an invite but didn't get to go because of a family obligation, but she'll certainly be in the pool as well. So are in Indiana Fever well represented, and these are women who are vying for a spot on the senior national team for the FIBA World Cup and for the Olympics, the 2028 Olympics.
Now, Stephanie, I'm going to be honest with you, and we had this happen yesterday. It happened to Scott Agnes, so blame him. And Don Fisher also this happened to. We somehow our system speeds up a little bit what you're saying. So I want people to know you're not actually on helium, right? I mean, like you're
that's what it sounded like again, huh?
So, I'll be honest with you. You sound a little like Lynn Dunn, if you really want to know the truth, right?
No, I don't. Come on.
No, very super energetic, right? Lynn Dunn she's like the Java House Peel and Pour coffee, right? She's instant energy. She's like the Wrangler energy. I like it, right?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
With a southern draw.
You sound a little not southern drawly, but do you mind sounding because I do want your perspectives. Do you mind sounding a little helium-y here? Are you willing to wade through that?
Sure, I'm willing to do that.
Okay, thank
just
you.
for you, Jake. Just for you.
Thank you. Well, Merry Christmas to me, right? Okay, so I do want to get to this because, for Caitlin Clark, for example, when you have a player that's coming off injury or that was injured, and then you start to get into those conversations in today's basketball world of, just the wear and tear. But at the same time, the benefit of being able to play different with different style, with different teammates, and obviously representing the United States, that goes without saying. But is there some potential, I hate to use the word drawback, that can come with the nonstop playing?
I mean, of course, there's drawback that can come with nonstop playing. I mean, we've got women in our league who have been playing essentially 12 months of the year their entire careers. So there can be. I think for somebody specific to Caitlin, being able to play now is something that she desperately wants and needs. She hasn't really played for a long time. And working her way back and preparing herself for this training camp. It's been a grind, and it's not easy, and she's done an excellent job, and I thought she was really ready to go. She looked good in training camp. I think that the most important thing is for her is getting reps. And then you've got players who play 12 months out of the year in the various leagues and overseas, and you've got players who don't. And in the off season, when you don't play, then you've got to find a way to get games. And we all know, like, pickup games isn't it, right? Like, to try to find your rhythm and your timing and get all of that stuff back.
You've had a chance now, Stephanie, to really, it was an impressive run that you guys had. And I know that, without Caitlin Clark, there was that question that kind of lingered over the course of the year. There were, you had made some comments about how you felt about Caitlin Clark kind of being in the middle of, a pawn, I think is the word you used, of just, some of the different marketing aspects and, being the face of a league, really. And so there was so much going on at the end of the season for the Indiana Fever and for you. And I know you're busy with other things, but did you really get a chance now to sit back and kind of go over and process and absorb what it was that you guys accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, I think you get a chance to really look back and see all of the adversity that we went through from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and the special group that we had that positioned us to be right there to go to the WNBA finals. I think it's from an outside perspective. All the people that I get to talk about how remarkable it was, but from being on the inside, it's next player up, and it's how do we position ourselves? How do we get creative enough to be a team that can compete and be the best version of what we have? And there was never a doubt in terms of belief that we could still get there and do it. And there was never a moment where anyone hesitated. It was just, what do we need to do? How do we need to get there? And let's put ourselves in position to be successful. And so, yes, you look back on it and it's like, holy cow, we went through all of that, and still we're 20 seconds away from the WNBA finals.
When you look, Stephanie, at moving forward now and getting the chance to watch Caitlin Clark with different players for a different team and the international standpoint here, will that give you a couple of things that you can kind of put in the arsenal as you work her back in with the Fever, of maybe glimpses of stylistically or schematically areas where you can take advantage of her skill set? Are you constantly looking for new ways of that, and could this introduce that to both you and Caitlin?
Yeah, I mean, we're always constantly looking for ways to do that, whether it's, through those experiences or games that we're watching on television. There are certainly those opportunities. I think the thing that's unique and that most people don't quite understand about the USA basketball experience is that, for USA basketball, you're talking about having the 12 best players, that are going to make the best team to compete for a gold medal. And there are very few players who go through a USA basketball experience that are allowed to, quote unquote, be themselves, right? So that they're the same version of player that they are with their teams in the WNBA, because you're sacrificing playing with all of these other great players, and you're playing FIBA rules, which are different than WNBA rules, which are different. So I think that in the experience of USA basketball, you play a different role. Every single player plays a different role. And so to watch Caitlin, AB, playing a different role, taking on, different ownership levels of that role, is cool because you can see, okay, all right, like, look, maybe we can adjust and do this out of this timeout or in these situations. Look, they're always going to be who they are for our team, but how can we add little nuances to be able to gain advantage, I think is important.
Do you find, Stephanie White's my guest, Java House Peel and Pour guest line, does seeing the game through coaching help you with broadcasting, or does seeing the game as a broadcaster more help you as a coach?
It's both, it really is. And when I was at Vanderbilt in college coaching, one of the things that I missed the most was being able to have that macro and micro view. I feel like broadcasting and coaching, it evens me out. So I can give the viewer a behind-the-scenes look at strategy and the micro that goes into to the game and subtleties that go into the game and nuance that goes into the game. But when I come back to training camp every year, I've seen the macro view. I talk to coaches all the time, and it's like, oh my gosh, like your team is doing this and this really well, or they're doing this and that well. And it's like, yeah, but we're not doing this and this, right? This is what coaches do. This is our job, is to find every weakness that we have and try to eliminate it. And so it gives me a different perspective. So when I come in, I have a big picture view. I have a view of, okay, well, we might be limited here, but what are we doing well that we can accentuate? And then every year I come into the fall, and I'm more in the micro viewpoint, more in the tunnel vision aspect, more in the details and the nitty gritty of the coaching mind. So I feel like it balances out for me. It helps me be better in both areas, and I hope that it gives the viewer a good perspective when I'm calling a game, and I hope that it gives our players a good perspective when I come back in the spring. Will it be a challenge to reacclimate Caitlin Clark to just the Fever roster? I mean, there was, obviously you guys had so much, and it was remarkable. I mean, it truly was a credit to the women on your team. As you mentioned, everyone stepping up and not knowing what the role was going to be from one week to the next, really. But will it be a challenge to reacclimate both Caitlin Clark to her teammates and her teammates to Caitlin Clark after what was accomplished? I don't know if it's a challenge after what was accomplished as opposed to just a challenge of reintegrating a player that has so much gravity, to your team. You get used to playing with a group that plays a certain way, and then you bring a player who's going to have the ball in her hands every possession down the floor, and you play differently. So I think that, and we saw that at various points throughout the season when she was in and out. So I don't think that's going to be the challenge. I think the challenge for us as a whole is going to be, what does our roster makeup look like? I mean, outside of 4 players, everybody's a free agent. 95 or 96% of the league is a free agent this year, something crazy like that. So what is it going to look like? What are our rosters going to look like? How will, once we get a deal with the CBA, how will that impact who we're able to bring in, and how we want to play? Where do things stand right now with the collective bargaining agreement? I know that the timeline of that has moved, right? Yes. Yeah, the timeline of we've extended the negotiating windows. And that, in terms of, and I don't know how much you can even say about it. Maybe it's none whatsoever. But that challenge, if you will, of not knowing where things stand, how difficult is that? It's challenging. I'm thankful I'm not Amber Cox right now, our GM, and you're having to try to guess what might happen and what might not. But it's challenging because the unknown. It's challenging because the timeline has changed. For us, we typically knew when free agency was going to open up, when the expansion draft was going to happen, when we could sign free agents, and then you build into the draft. So the timeline has changed. It's going to be shortened. When gets made, and it's going to be, a rat race, so to speak. It's going to be fast and furious and trying to make decisions, trying to figure out who you can fit into whatever the new salary cap is going to be. And so I think it's challenging, but it's also a necessary part of the business. We've seen every professional league go through this. Certainly we'd love for it to be seamless, but it's not seamless, and it's just the hand that we're dealt, and we got to play it. I thought I saw a headline, and you tell me if it was clickbait, that you had recently done an interview coming off of the experience with Team USA, and it said, like, Stephanie White says A'ja Wilson is the best player in the world. And I thought, well, she coaches Caitlin Clark, who's pretty darn good.
And I know you have great respect for all great players. Was that a clickbait headline, or did you say it that overtly?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that might have been clickbait. But I do think that Asia Wilson is one of the best players in the world. There's no doubt about that.
When you see different great players and you get it, is it refreshing, I guess, and fun to be able to get involved with and kind of get a glimpse inside of the greatness of players that you normally would not on a day-to-day be working with?
It really is. To be in the gym with players, to see how they work, see how they operate, to be able to put them in different positions. It's awesome. And you learn too. I learn, how different players, number one, prepare. And it's whenever we're talking about young players, especially young players can learn from the veterans. Who's the first one in the gym? What have they been doing, in the weight room prior to? What are they doing in the weight room, right after? I'll never forget my first Team USA experience last year. Jackie Young was an example. I was in the gym earlier in the morning at the hotel getting a workout in, and she was in there in the gym getting a workout in. And then right after, a 2.5 hour practice, she's in the weight room at the facility, doing the Versa climber. I mean, it's how you work and how you prepare and, how you keep your body ready. And I think for a lot of young players, learning how to be a pro is challenging, right? Because you can't do the same level of things that you were doing in college. It requires a different version. It requires a different attention to detail. It requires more. I mean, the stories about LeBron James and how early he's at the gym on a game day, are well renowned. So learning that, I think, is important for me. Learning, how players like to warm up, what are the different drills that they like to do, being able to apply some of that. What are they like in game? What kind of situations can we continue to challenge and stretch our players based on what I'm learning from these other players? And then to just marvel in their greatness. I mean, just being out there and watching them, the best in the world, do what they do best, and just the joy that brings, a basketball nut like me.
Stephanie, I want to ask you, and we have the song, by the way. I'm going to see on the way out if Do They Know It's Christmas by Band-Aid. But before we do that, I wanted to give you this opportunity. You mentioned, just seeing examples, right? When I was in high school as a freshman, I'll never forget that there were two varsity players. I was a freshman player and kind of a fringe player, right? And there were two guys that were on the varsity team, Todd Geyer and Tony Barbee, okay? And they were like kind of star players. And they kind of took me under their wing of, hey, kid, like, here's what you do, and giving me a ride home after practice and those things. But it made me feel like, in fact, I belonged. It made me feel like I was part of the team, and to have the endorsement of those guys was so big for me as a young player. Who was the player, or whether it be a player or just an older person in the neighborhood, whoever it might be, who was that for you at a young age where before you realized the greatness that was within you, you realized that somebody else made you feel like you belonged?
Wow. I don't think as a young person I had that. There weren't a lot of, number one, when I was young, there weren't a lot of female basketball role models that were visible, right?
Right.
That I saw. I used to go play at the old West Lebanon gym with what I called the old guys at the time, which they're probably younger than I am right now.
Right.
When
a bunch of old 30-year-olds, yeah.
Right, exactly, yeah. And they taught me how to play the game, right? Like throwing in front of somebody when they're running to the rim, not where they are, where they're going to. Starting to anticipate, defenses, starting to anticipate actions. They taught me all of that stuff. I would say when I became college, Stacy, who was a senior on the team when I was a freshman, was someone who just kind of, helped me navigate the adjustment to college life. Everything from finding the doctor's appointments that they didn't handhold us like they do now, right? You don't have everything kind of set up for you. To navigating study tables and all of those things, and then when I was a pro, it was watching Dawn Staley as a rookie. I was a rookie, and she had been a pro for a long time. We were on the same team in Charlotte. It was watching her and how she works, and Vicky Bullock calls me my first day in Charlotte, and it's like, hey, we're going to the gym, let's go. Those guys who had been around and who had been pros, showing me what it means to be a pro. You don't wait till the first day of training camp. If you're there 3 days early, you're getting in the gym and you're getting your work in, and those guys helping me understand what it means to prepare and be a pro.
Okay, lastly, because it dropped out for just a second, give me the name of the Purdue player again. When you first got to Purdue, you said.
Yeah, Stacey Lovelace.
Stacey Lovelace. Okay. All right, here we go. Yeah. Nathaniel, you have queued up. This is from, now, do you remember, now, Stephanie, you do remember, like, We Are the World, right? You remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Bob Geldof, who was part of that entire kind of initiative, also did along with Bono, and Midge Uri was the name of the writer, but they formed a group together called Band Aid, which was to raise money for, famine and, the impoverished in mostly Africa and Ethiopia. But the name of the song was Do They Know It's Christmas from Band Aid. See if you know this one or not. Okay, does or does not sound familiar to Stephanie White?
It does not sound familiar.
Wow. Okay. Didn't make it up to Seeger, I guess.
I guess not.
You know what? Those old guys, those old 30-year-olds in the West Lebanon gym were playing the wrong tunes for you.
That's right. They sure were.
That's what it was. Well, listen, I hope everything that Santa, that you've asked Santa for, shows up underneath the tree, not only for yourself, but your family and your kids as well, Stephanie. I certainly appreciate the time, and safe travels. Look forward to talking to you again soon, all right?
Yeah, appreciate it. Happy holidays.
All right, same to you. Stephanie White joining us on the program on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line. Jake25 is the code at Java House. Look, Nathaniel's in there bumping to it. It's good, isn't it, Nathaniel?
Never heard it before, but yeah.
You've never heard this?
No.
Oh, world, let them know it's Christmas time. See, you like it, don't you? Nathaniel's in there right now. He's got the headsets on. I mean, he looks like Jimmy Jam on Dance Party USA in there.
Well, they gave us this own little booth. I got to take advantage.
I can see Nathaniel. We're talking to each other through the headsets and getting after it a little bit there, right? I think interesting stuff when talking about Caitlin Clark and the acclimation, the reacclimation. And I know that sounds crazy. She's clearly, she's probably right now, Asia Wilson would be right there, right? And there are a handful. It would be unfair to say that any one player is the greatest basketball player in the world from a female standpoint, because there's an upper crust there for sure. But I thought last year, the Fever, what they were able to do when you looked at the attrition that they had and seemingly just continuously putting in new player after new player, and the way that they just meshed and blended. And that does mean that you've got to come up with different schemes. It does mean that you have to play to different strengths for people. And they were able to do it, and it was impressive. And then you get such a massive centerpiece. It's kind of like when you make the perfect cocktail, and then all of and it's right to the brim, and then you drop in the perfect cylindrical ice cube. And some of that's going to splash over, and you just don't know how it's going to impact the balance of the way the drink tastes once it all works together. You know that it's going to be better because it's going to be colder and whatever else, but you don't know how it impacts the overall balance of the drink. And that, to me, is going to be an interesting thing to watch and to see. I asked yesterday, Kurt, this question, Nathaniel, I will ask you. We just talked to Stephanie about doing the Christmas tree. When you were a kid, what was the Christmas gift that you most recall looking back on and saying, of all the Christmases of my childhood, the gift that I most begged Santa to bring was what?
A Peyton Manning jersey. Broncos.
Oh, the Broncos variation, huh?
Yeah, that's right. I kind of, looking back on it, I'm like, man, I was kind of a piece of crap kid. I was begging for that.
I've never felt more old than I have realizing that it would have been in your childhood that Peyton Manning was with the Broncos.
That's right.
I've never felt more old in my life, right?
The first football game I watched was the Colts Super Bowl, the second one. And that's the first football game. Yeah, if that makes you feel old. What, 2010?
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. The first Super Bowl that I remember watching, and I know that I watched others, The first one that I remember watching was the Rams and Steelers in 79 in Pasadena, the great Lynn Swan catch. I think I might have seen one of the Cowboys-Steelers ones, but I didn't really know what was going on, so to speak. I definitely recall Kenny King and the Raiders running over the Eagles in 80 and Ron Jaworski. I remember that very vividly. The first Final Four, what's the first Final Four that you recall watching?
See, I'm not. You can point to any Final Four and tell you the location. I don't know.
Well, over in the early, like, give me a year in the 80s. This is the thing that's weird about when you get older. Give me a year of the 80s or first half of the 90s off the top of your head. Go.
89.
1989 Final Four was at the Kingdome in Seattle that featured Seton Hall, Illinois, Michigan, and Duke. And it was won by Ramil Robinson's 2 free throws after John Morton scored 35 for Seton Hall in the finals. It went into overtime, and I believe Michigan won 80-78. I don't know if you have the score in front of you, but it was definitely Michigan, Seton Hall, Illinois, and Duke. However, I couldn't tell you 3 years ago. That's what's weird. You know what I mean? And the 89 season, Indiana swept Michigan. They beat them twice. They beat them up in Ann Arbor. I believe it was 76-75. And then they beat them 71-70 up there, 76-75 in Bloomington with Jay Edwards shot. And Purdue that year, Edwards hit a shot over Tony Jones in the bottom left corner to beat Purdue at home. And then that Purdue had a good team. I mean, but that Indiana team came out of nowhere. That was a miracle Indiana season. Did you happen to look up the 89 Final Four?
I didn't. What I was looking up was the first one I've seen. I think it was 2016.
Okay, see, now again.
And nothing for you there?
2016. That would have been, was Louisville in that?
Was not.
Kentucky?
No. Couple other Blue Buds.
Kansas?
Not Kansas.
See, again, I mean, okay.
This is at NRG Stadium in Houston.
Okay, who was, so obviously Butler, right?
Was not, nope.
Oh, Butler went in, was it 11 and 12? See, that's, again,
yeah, exactly.
Once you start covering it, all runs together.
The first one I remember was between Villanova and North Carolina, and Villanova won that one.
Oh, that was the Chris Jenkins shot, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, the last second shot. And what's funny is I was at that Final Four.
Yep.
In 2016,
really?
I was there, yeah. I mean, I went from probably, I'm going to guess here, from like 08 to 16 or 17, I was at all of them. And it just, after a while, it becomes like vapor lock. It's a weird thing. It's very odd. But the first Final Four that I recall watching was 79, Indiana State, Michigan State. Because I remember my dad saying to me, like, we got to watch this team. They're from Indiana. And seeing Larry Bird with the towel over his head at the end of the game. And I'm like, did they not win? My dad's like, no, they didn't win. Ralph Reef going to join us other side. Speaking of Butler, he was on the call for a lot of those Butler games. No question about that. Athletic trainer, lot to get to, a lot of injuries to ask about. We'll do it with Ralph Reef next.
Welcome to Wawa. We're open 24/7, so when the sun goes down but everyone's still up, Wawa has your late night fuel. Headed to a hangout? Stop in for snacks and sodas. Binge your favorite shows with burgers and hoagies. Gather around the table with garlic knots and a cheesy Wawa pizza. Or just chill on the couch with fries and whatever milkshake sounds good. Your night just got a whole lot tastier. Freshly made burgers, pizza, and so much more. When you got a late night craving, you got a Wawa. Price and participation may vary by store.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, it's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
No one does happy hour like Twin Peaks. Everything from tequila cocktails and bourbon to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out the adventurous drink menu. And don't forget about the 29-degree drafts.
When it comes to restoring your hair and your confidence, picking the right team makes all the difference. And at We Grow Hair Indy, some of the biggest names in sports, radio, entertainment, trust them with their hair restoration. We're talking Olympians, former NFL players, maybe even a radio host or two. They all chose We Grow Hair Indy because the results speak for themselves. And I've talked with people that have had it out of state, out of the country, and oh boy, some of their endorsements, not the most glowing, but I can be glowing about We Grow Hair Indy. They are excellent. I was a little hesitant at first walking into the building, but they're very reassuring. The education I got from Darren Andrews and his staff made my decision for me, and then I went ahead with the Artist Robotic FUE hair procedure. And from your first visit, I think you're going to know why. We Grow Hair Indy's technology is unbelievable. match, and their team has decades of experience and proven results you can actually see. So if you're ready, take control of your hair loss, choose the right team, and schedule your free in-person or virtual evaluation today. That's WeGrowHairIndy.com or call 317-522-2995.
Food insecurity is an urgent problem, one that impacts real Hoosiers. You can help today. Gleaners needs donations. Your contribution goes further with Gleaners. For every $10 you give, Gleaners leverages their resources to turn your $10 into $90 worth of groceries for families who desperately need help right now. Your gift benefits local community members, and every dollar counts. Gleaners also needs volunteers now to help with warehouse distribution. Go to gleaners.org and donate or get involved today.
With Wawa's Rewards program, you can rack up points on the items you buy every day, even fuel. Boost your totals with a breakfast sizzly. Score points with your morning coffee. With Wawa Rewards, points put the power in your hands. You can choose to redeem them for what you love most, like an iced latte for an extra pick-me-up or your lunchtime hoagie. Download the Wawa app today. When you gotta get rewarded, you gotta Wawa. Fuel rewards not available in New Jersey or were legally prohibited. See full details at wawarewards.com. Price and participation may vary by store.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Price Point Comfort Heating and Cooling. Owner James Swindle says competitors focused on revenue typically fail.
I've been doing this 31 years in Indianapolis, and I've worked for other companies, and one day we're how many customers did we take care of, and then the new owners come in, and it's how much revenue did we produce today. As soon as the talking point changes, the customers see the difference, they feel the difference, and they know the difference. We're not that. Our focus is always take care of the customer.
See the difference by going to PricePointComfort.com. Price Point Comfort is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
With over 100 online casino-style games, Chumba Casino is your destination for nonstop entertainment. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 21+.
The Ride with JMV.
I'm not going to sit here and bag on Phillip Rivers all day, but the problem remains at that position. You have to be a threat downfield. You had 2 plays, over 15 yards. He did not completely cost you the game, but he was unfortunately costly in a different manner because he does not allow you to do what needs to be done.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Absolutely gorgeous day outside. I'm telling you. And somebody posted to me on social media that they heard me mention this yesterday, and it was female listener number 34, I believe, because it was a female that said, hey, I heard you mention on the radio. And I'm like, well, we're at 33. I think now we're officially at 34. 34 female listeners of this program. Now, you double that number, and you get nearly what the forecast says it's going to be. I mentioned that for Christmas. Because I mentioned yesterday, I think it was Christmas Eve, it's supposed to be 61. And they've dropped that down a little bit, but like mid-50s coming up for Christmas. But it is a gorgeous day out today, starting to warm up just a little bit. But there are injuries in sports to talk about, and that means we go to the Java House Peel and Port guest line for our friend Ralph Reif, ralphreif.com, REIFF.com. And if you've listened to this program and you've heard Ralph, you know there's nobody better when it comes to explaining the training and just the overall health when it comes to athletes. And he joins me now. Ralph, a couple of them to get to. And first off, let me begin simply by saying the happiest of holidays to you.
Well, thank you very much, Jake. I appreciate that. Looking forward to it. And we're right upon it. Yes, sir.
All right, let's begin with this. And we're going to go outside of market. With the injury to Patrick Mahomes. And the reason I mention it, because I think you look at the Colts for next year and you're saying, okay, I shouldn't, the Colts are still alive for this year. I get it. But if you look at next year, you start thinking about who in the AFC are contenders and you wonder about the availability of Patrick Mahomes. I saw this, Ralph, ACL injury. We always hear ACL. I thought I saw an acronym with which I'm not familiar in the knee, and you tell me if I misread it. The LCL. I don't know that I've heard of that one before. Did I read that correctly?
Jake, you read it correctly, and it's the lateral collateral ligament. So it's if you rub the outside of your knee joint, that's the general area of the LCL. Typically, in an anterior cruciate ligament injury, you will get either an isolated tear of the injury. In other words, nothing else is wrong except that ligament is torn. But you'll, don't know the percentages off the top of my head, but the medial collateral ligament is quite often injured with an ACL tear, and sometimes you'll get a little meniscus injury and maybe a bone bruise. But to get the LCL involved is a little less common, and it adds some complexity to the return to play.
Okay, and of those two, Ralph, ACL, LCL, for example, is there one of those ligaments that is more stubborn than the other? Does that make sense?
Stubborn in terms of
timeline of repair.
Oh, well, according to all the reports and so forth, they did actually repair the lateral collateral ligament along with a repair of the anterior ligament. They did the procedures to regain the stability to the knee. And with the lateral collateral ligament, not saying that one is more unique than the other, the ACL carries much weight, is his ability to be mobile and to get out of peculiar situations on the field, being partially tackled and rotating out of it and so forth. As a matter of fact, his longtime strength coach, Bob Stoops, who managed him in Texas and then moved to Kansas City with him, is well known for his ability to train athletes like that. So this will be a real test to get Mahomes back to the Mahomes that we've known with all of his various abilities to get out of tough situations.
Ralph, is there and I know that every body is different, right? Every human is different. But for the most part, in your experience, in your vast experience as an athletic trainer, is there an age that more often than not you from a training standpoint look at and say, gosh, and I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes' case, okay, just generically speaking, that you look at and you say, once a guy or a gal reaches that age, then it's kind of like having the 100,000 miles on the car where things just are different than they were prior. Is there like a magic age that is the age of the Mendoza line from a training standpoint?
I don't think we've found that, Jake. And I think, all the recent news of from downhill skiing to quarterbacks in the NFL, that line is raising into a higher age bracket. And, so what Lindsey Vonn has done to come back from multiple knee surgeries, some parts of her knee being replaced and being able to do what she's doing at age 41 and is remarkable by old standards. And so I think that we're more forgiving as a sports society to allow age not to be a factor. LeBron James has certainly done that. You look across Major League Baseball and people standing on that pitching mound that have done amazing things at what we would refer to as old age. So I think that line, whatever it is rising, if you will, into an older age bracket, Jake.
Okay, Bernhard Raimann has, and all we know is that it is an elbow injury. Now, we all hit our funny bones, so to speak, but he had it bandaged. It's a little bit perhaps more elusive to the weekend warrior like me, but as somebody with more of a trained eye, and I know you don't work specifically with Raimann, but typically that would mean perhaps what and how problematic an area?
My sense is with this situation, again, there's not a lot specific to this injury, but if we were to be generic about elbow injuries in linemen, he's probably had some soft tissue injury, again, to the UCL, a lot of acronyms here, the ulnar collateral ligament, which acts like the lateral collateral and the medial collateral in the knee. So if you think about the elbow as a little bit of a resemblance to the knee joint, you'd be pretty accurate. And so my guess is that he's got a Tommy John type of stretch to the ulnar collateral ligament, and that really deteriorates the stability of the elbow to work correctly. And so what does that mean? That means that to extend and push off, to grab and pull towards you. So those kinds of things are very, very limited. You can be braced up, you can be really stabilized, but you're real limited in your ability to use that arm the way you want. And then, as we've seen with other injuries, then you have compensation kind of issues that you worry about around the wrist and also more particularly up around the shoulder joint.
When you look, Ralph, at DeForest Buckner coming back, Ralph Reif is my guest, Java House Peel and Pour guest line, ralphreif.com, REIFF.com, where you can see Ralph's work, also see where he continues to work in terms of whether it be speaking engagements or working in the training aspects of today that's got him going all over the world. But, Ralph, when you look at DeForest Buckner and coming off, we know that we talked about, and you did a great job explaining stem cells and the neck injury that he had. Once a guy is cleared from the situation that he has had, do you have to bubble wrap it a little bit, or do you not put him out there until he's good to go? Will there be any impediment to his range of motion?
So range of motion should not be an issue. The biggest issue would be around his strength of the affected limb. So more than likely he had one side of his upper extremities that was affected by this well-documented disc in the cervical vertebrae that was damaged in some manner. Therefore, it started to swell, and it put pressure on the nerves that run into the upper shoulder, the back, and into the arm. And so we know, weekend warrior, NFL player, when you have a nerve impingement or a nerve injury to where it's not fully functioning due to, it's sort of like a water hose in beside your house, and it's running, and you step on it, and therefore not as much water runs through the water hose. And that's the same thing with the nerve. And so we know that within 12 to 14 days, muscles deteriorate in strength up to 40%. So his big issue coming back will be strength and endurance. And therefore, then the third thing would be pain, because that nerve can create some pain into the arm and into the tricep and so forth. So I think the biggest issue is, does he have the strength to play his position at the level that we know him to play?
Ralph, lastly, because you're always a good sport, and, we've moved into a new building. Now, we have some wires that are kind of like nerves, right? Like you step on them wrong and, things just kind of misfire. So occasionally and periodically when we're talking to people, their voice gets a little elevated in pitch. They sound a little like maybe they're in the Wizard of Oz, and you're a good sport. Can we get you real quick just to say for me, if you could, we represent the Lollipop Guild. Can I just get you real quick to say that on the air? We represent the Lollipop Guild.
We represent the Lollipop Guild.
That is not really what Ralph sounds like, I promise you, folks. We just have a wire. We got to get some stem cells in one of the wires for our system here. Ralph, I appreciate it. It is great information, even if it sounds a little helium-induced. It is great information, and always appreciate it. If we don't talk to you, certainly wish you the very best of the holiday season. I think we'll probably talk before then, but if we don't, certainly wanted to get that covered as well.
Okay, thank you very much. The same to everyone there within the station.
Ralph Reif joining us on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line, and doing so from the Lollipop Guild, by the way. It's a fascinating deal, right? All of a sudden that wire gets touched on, and then we're off and running. There is news for Indiana University football, and it's not just about Curt Cignetti being the two-time now AP Coach of the Year, but rather there is news for Indiana at the quarterback position. And it's not entirely good news. I'll explain next.
Don't mess up the ring. Go to Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. They only sell natural diamonds, hand-selected at competitive prices. Mention JMV for $500 off your engagement ring through Christmas Eve.
It happens every holiday. Food comas, piles of wrapping paper, Uncle Harold's asleep in the recliner. It's only $5.45. But then, Cousin John rolls in with holiday scratch-offs from the Hoosier Lottery. Starting at just $1, they're the perfect gift for making the most of the one time of year all 30 cousins are gathered together in one living room. Unwrap instant fun with holiday scratch-offs. Hoosier Lottery, champions of play. Must be 18 or older to play. Gift responsibly.
Xfinity is the network you can rely on. Like a close friend who will give it to you straight. The friend who will tell you that new haircut, it's not great. Friends make sure friends get good haircuts. And Xfinity makes sure you get a good deal on Wi-Fi. Xfinity gives you reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi at our best price. This holiday season through January 4th, get gig speed Wi-Fi for just $50 a month for 5 whole years. No strings, no commitments. Just super fast, reliable gig speed Wi-Fi with our best equipment and unlimited data included. Save yourself from questionable decisions and save over Verizon and AT&T. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Internet powered by fiber and connected to premises by coaxial cable. Actual speeds vary.
Hellsberg gifts checked off the list. Now, time for wrapping. Earrings for mom. A gold bracelet to match the rings Danielle wears every day. And for dad, a new watch, because we all know he needs one. All right, this is gonna be a good one.
Our favorite things for your favorite people. Shop in store at Hellsberg.com for up to 50% off.
Christmas Nights of Lights Drive-Thru Holiday Spectacular returns to the Indiana State Fairgrounds November 7th through December 31st. Synchronize to your favorite Christmas tunes and a million sparkling lights. Enjoy a dazzling winter wonderland for the whole family. Reserve your spot at ChristmasNightsOfLights.com.
You'll get more than you expect with McValue at McDonald's. Like deals on your late night go-tos when the party goes till dawn. And savings on their faves. So date night always passes the vibe check. Plus, when the fam shows up for the weekend, you can show out for breakfast.
Enjoy a $3 sausage McMuffin with egg or egg McMuffin and pair it with a $1.49 any size Coke. Price of participation may vary, cannot be combined with any other offer.
It's Terry Stacy for Cynthia's Hallmark, and this Christmas, give her something she'll treasure forever. The most sought-after jewelry in the country, E. Newton. Timeless, elegant, and designed for everyday wear. And don't forget the classic Ronaldo bracelets, hand-wired with care in New Albany, Indiana, and these gifts are gifts she will truly love. E. Newton and Ronaldo are available only at Cynthia's Hallmark in Greenfield, and if you're looking for relaxation as a gift, explore the Lemon Lavender Collection. Pampering spa day favorites, perfect for anyone who could use a little comfort this season. And you've got to feel the lavender-scented Warm Pals. They're gently weighted, warm or cool, and designed to give that soothing hug-like feeling. Gifts that fit every budget for every person on your list. You'll find just the right presents at Cynthia's Hallmark, including gift cards. Make your holiday giving meaningful, memorable, and magical. Shop locally owned Cynthia's Hallmark, celebrating 40 years. 116th and Allisonville Road, 96th and Lantern Road, 116th and Brook School Road, and in Greenfield.
Hey, Colts fans, Crown Royal is a proud partner of the Indianapolis Colts, and this season it's not game day without the generous spirit of Crown Royal. Whether you're at the tailgate, in the stands, or watching from home, Crown Royal is the reason and the reward for coming together. Grab a glass with the Crown Royal rig at a stadium near you, because we'll be sharing the generous spirit with fans across the country. Crown Royal, fueling game day with a generous spirit. Visit www.crownroyal.com/royal rig for more on the Crown Royal Rig Tour. Please drink responsibly.
It's JMV for Indiana's Best. My friend Eric Wilson and Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st and State Road 37. It's in Fishers. Check it out right now. The GMC Acadia, good for you, the family, and the friends of the family. Inventory. Car buying experience, service after the sale, the absolute best. It's one-stop shopping. Ask for Eric Wilson and head to Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st and State Road 37 in Fishers.
Butler faces the Northwestern Wildcats in the Indy Classic, Saturday at 3:30 on FM 92.7 Fuego.
I can't even begin to explain how big this song was when it came out. my senior year of high school. And Nathaniel, don't call me Atticus Finch, literally. He was Jimmy Jam from the USA Network's Dance Party USA earlier. And now you're over there. You look like DJ Skids. Like you're kind of doing the bop back and forth.
JMV on a Saturday night.
You're getting into it. JMV on a Saturday night, except for that if JMV was doing that on a Saturday night, you'd be able to hear it all the way up to about 12th Street, right? You get off the elevators and the floor and you're like, whoa, JMV's got it bumping in there, right?
He did on our old 5th floor. We could hear it from the 4th floor.
Heck yeah. Indiana football news. Obviously, the Hoosiers getting set for the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, and the tickets, I've got several friends that got the notification. Their tickets are good to go. They're on their way. It is exciting. It's awesome. No question about any of that. No question about any of that. And the whoever to thunk it, right? Although, again, I think this year, when they came back and were able to get that win at Iowa, when they were down and it looked like they were dead to rights, and then all of a sudden you see that play to Surratt, that touchdown, right there is where I said to myself, you know what? There's something about this group, something about them. And this is the reality. You saw the 60-minute story of Indiana and their pledge now to football. More so than basketball, understandably. I mean, they're apples and oranges to a great extent, but same athletic department, obviously. But when you look at the transfer portal and you keep an eye on, and I don't know every player, you'll hear about a 4-star right guard from Texas Tech in the portal. Looking at Boise State, okay? I just saw yesterday some player that is getting, apparently is looking to transfer, getting a medical red shirt and an extra year of eligibility and will be at his 7th school, okay? I told you the Jake Query idea. Go to the school that gives you the most your freshman year, threaten the portal for your sophomore year, get more money out of them. Junior year, go to the highest bidder. Senior year, go to like Stanford, Duke, Harvard, or Yale and say, instead of paying me, you're going to take all my credits. I'm going to graduate from your school. And I know that people are like, there's no way you could do that. Okay. But here's the news from Indiana football at the quarterback spot. Drew Mestemaker, who is one of the best passers in the nation, North Texas, averages 318 passing yards per game, entered his name into the transfer portal. And Indiana was a school that apparently he had interest. However, multiple reports, and I went ahead and checked it to make sure that it wasn't just, there are multiple people now saying, not specifically this amount, but that at this point, Mestemaker is moving on from talks with or exploration of Indiana. And I have no idea, like, when they're allowed to talk to players, whether that means he talked directly or his representatives did, whatever. He is apparently looking for $3.5 million. And I think Indiana was willing to pay, I don't know this, but I think Indiana is willing to pay, Mendoza, I believe, if you believe all reports, $2 million. Sam Leavitt is the quarterback at Arizona State that's also in the portal and one of the more coveted transfer portal quarterbacks. And he is apparently rumored to be in a finality with Indiana. Yes, Nathaniel?
I was just putting my finger up to say you have 1 minute.
I thought you were saying, but let me make a point, right? Let me make a point here. No. So, and thank you. Leavitt is one. Now, you have Alberto Mendoza there as well. And Kurt Cignetti, though, I told this story, and this is why Indiana is where they are. I know someone that was meeting with Scott Dolson, the athletic director at Indiana. And in their meeting with Scott Dolson, Kurt Cignetti walked in and handed Scott Dolson a sheet of paper, and Scott Dolson said, "What's this?" And he said, "That's what you asked for this morning." And Dolson said, "Oh." And Cignetti walked out, and Dolson told my friend, I thought this was going to take like 3 weeks or a month. I asked him about this at 8:30 this morning, and here it is like 10:45, and he's already got a sheet for me. And Dolson had asked for a list of Indiana's 50 top targets in the transfer portal and an estimation as to what NIL cost would be for each. And Signetti was able to submit that to his boss within 2 hours because he already had it prepared. Thinking ahead of the curve and knowing that it wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. That's why you're a two-time national coach of the year. Joel A. Erickson next.
The Ride with JMV.
The one criticism that you have about, well, you didn't prepare. Nobody was talking about wanting to prepare with the backup quarterback earlier this year. And I know some of you are going to say, well, I mean, Daniel Jones does have a history with the Giants of an injury. Maybe you should have had somebody else on the ready. Well, I mean, they did have somebody else on the ready until he about popped his eyeball out trying to stretch before a game, and now he's no longer on the ready.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
If you or someone you know needs help putting food on the table, that help is closer than you think. The Fan cares. We've partnered with local food banks and organizations to provide resources for those who need them. Just go to 1075thefan.com and look for the banner that says Find Free Food Near You. You'll find a link to Community Compass with an up-to-date and interactive map that shows locations, days, and times for you to collect food at no cost, as well as other resources to help you through this challenging time. Find community help now at 1075thefan.com. Hey, JV here for WeGrowHairIndy.com. My friend Darren Andrews awaits your call at 317-522-2995 or WeGrowHairIndy.com today. So I have been a We Grow Hair Indy member for the better part of 9 years, and so glad I did because I had that classic Costanza horseshoe design set again, and frankly, I wanted my real hair back and knew that it was leaving, vacating the premises. But Darren Andrews said, hey, we can help you out here with either multi-unit hair grafting or artist robotic FUE. Whatever you need, we shall do to get your real growing hair back again. That's exactly what happened. And all I did was make that call to Darren Andrews at 317-522-2995, WeGrowHairIndy.com. Don't wait. Do it now. That's 317-522-2995. Be just like me, JMV, and get your free evaluation and get your hair back today. WeGrowHairIndy.com.
Hey there, Jake Query for Surfside. Look for the can with the sunset stripes. Surfside is, of course, sunshine in a can. Lemonade and vodka. Also iced tea and vodka. And oh, so refreshing. I love Surfside because I love just that little kick of the vodka, but the green tea and the raspberry tea both are outstanding. And lemonade, it goes without saying. This time of year, you've been longing for summer. Think about that. Immediately, you get that sunshine in a can, and it takes you right back. It is, of course, officially partnered with Purdue Athletics as well. Surfside, 100 calories, just 2 grams of sugar, no carbonation, so oh so smooth. Look for it wherever you buy your favorite adult beverages. Please be 21, and please drink responsibly.
Satch Vai Band, featuring Joe Satriani and Steve Vai. Two living legends, one band, surfing with the Hydra 2026 Tour, Saturday, May 9th, Everwise Amphitheater at White River State Park, with special guest, Animals as leaders. Reserved seats are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Satch Vai Band, an electrifying sonic powerhouse, part of the Jack Daniels Concert Series.
Hi, I'm Lexi, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. We'll help you find last-minute gifts that don't look last-minute, even if you're still planning to propose. At Shane Company, we'll show you perfect gifts at perfect prices, in stock and ready to give. Like hand-matched diamond studs, 14-karat gold chains, or the ultimate gift, a beautiful engagement ring. We have longer store hours, so you can skip the crowds and shop when you want, or visit us at shaneco.com. Because a friend wants you to be a holiday hero. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service and need to find a local, well-trained expert you can trust like Reinhardt Heating and Cooling? Well, find that American Standard dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
From the DriveHubler.com studios, this is 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, HD3, Indianapolis.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan.
This sounds like the London Philharmonic version of this song or something. It's just like the brass and woodwings version.
Now, this is the 89 through 05 version.
Is it really? That seems high and pitchy.
Maybe it's just one of those loose wires we're dealing with.
I was going to say, can we get it to say, follow the yellow brick road? Did you happen to get a hold of Joel A. Erickson by chance?
Oh, yeah.
Joel A. Erickson is, of course, the Colts beat writer for the Indianapolis Star. He joins us on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line. Java House Jake25 is the discount code, 25% off all of your Peel and Pour beverages, including the Wrangler Energy, the Liquid Science Hydration, and as well the Colombian coffee, which I particularly love. Let's get right to this, Joel, from an injury standpoint. Bernhard Raimann, I will begin with that. Elbow is all I know, and we all have two of them. Where do things stand with Bernhard Raimann, and do we know any more specifically what may be wrong?
No, we don't know anything more specifically. We're kind of on a weird week here where this is Wednesday, and normally we should have updated information, but for the Colts, it's technically Tuesday since they're playing on Monday, so this is one of those weird ones where every day kind of feels a little bit off because you're doing stuff a day late. But the last I saw of Raimann, he was walking out of the locker room and using only his left hand, but to carry stuff, everything like that, as you'd expect after suffering an elbow injury. But Shane Steichen didn't rule him out, so we'll just kind of see when they get into practice tomorrow.
Joel, I thought you asked, and I believe it was you that asked the question, and I want to get into this. I totally understand it. You know, the Phillip Rivers and, Anthony Richardson now being back. I'm confused by this, and I want you to paraphrase for folks. How exactly did you ask the question to Shane Steichen regarding Anthony Richardson and his availability or lack thereof?
I believe I said something along the lines of, for those of us who don't know, what makes it the difference between, Anthony Richardson not really playing football for 2 months versus Phillip Rivers not playing for 4.5 or 5 years. And really, he said it just comes down to the fact that Richardson is coming off of injury. My understanding is he's cleared to do physical activity, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's ready to practice, that kind of thing. Obviously, a very serious eye injury, but yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to get at was just, obviously 2 months off is not the same as 5 years off, but Shane Steichen was like, the difference is the fact that Richardson was injured.
What I found peculiar, and I want you, Joel, you were there, okay? I want you to tell me if I'm wrong in this. To me, it would have been very easy for Shane Steichen to simply say, look, every injury is different, and while he has been cleared to practice, we still have to be very cautious because it was an orbital bone of full contact, and so we will temper that as it goes. I think people would go, okay. But when he repeatedly kept saying, like, physical activity, or I can't remember the exact wording that he used, but basically insinuating he's got to get back into football shape. And I'm thinking, yeah, but you're comparing it to a guy that's 20 years older and hasn't played literally in a half a decade. To me, what I'm getting at is this, and I want you to tell me I'm wrong. You were there. It sounded to me like Shane Steichen was basically coming up with any reason he could to essentially say, because I'm done with the guy. I don't dislike him as a person. I don't dislike him as a player. I just distrust him as a quarterback, and I'm going to go elsewhere. That's what I heard.
My understanding is that there are physical, issues. I agree with you. Generally, the answer you laid out, it does feel like it'd be easy to say that. I mean, I think 3 years in, though, we know that we don't always get an explanation quite like that from Shane.
By the way, Joel, this is, it's a wonderful time of year, right?
It is.
I mean, Andy Williams said it's the most wonderful time of the year. And and one of the things that's fun about it, you have kids and, you wake up here in a little over a week or whatever it might be, and there's gifts under the tree, and it's fun, right? And there's, stuff hanging from the fireplace and oranges in it and candy in it and the whole deal. I'm just curious. It's my understanding. Did you happen to get any sort of a porch visit in the middle of the night of late?
The Beer Fairy was like one of the Beer Fairy's best runs ever, I think.
Really?
Yes. Well, I don't know if the listeners know this, but the Beer Fairy has ways of sort of making requests for wondering whether or not, if I'm craving anything.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it stuff's out and sometimes it's not, but I got exactly what I asked for on my list.
Listen, the Beer Fairy is, I know, and for those that don't know, the Beer Fairy is, and I've never actually divulged this, but I will. Joel, I'll tell you this real quick. You ready?
Yeah.
Many moons ago, I was but a younger lad, and I was living in St. Louis, actually. Okay, true story. And my car got stolen in St. Louis. Also a true story. And because my car was stolen, and during the time between when my car was stolen and when I could get a new car, I took public transportation. No problem, right? And I was one day on the Kings Highway late at night, the only light illuminating the interior of this old bus that I was, Bush runs everything, right?
Yeah.
So not a hard gig for the Beer Fairy. So the Beer Fairy was telling me how, because everybody in St. Louis already has Anheuser-Busch stuff, not a lot of use or work for the Beer Fairy. So we became friends, and the Beer Fairy occasionally will ask me if I know of people that
enjoy this as well. I am planning to sit down and sample the Tail Wagger Amber that came as I continue to read John U. Bacon's latest book. Do you know what it is? I know this is a topic that interests you as well.
John U. Bacon's latest book. I did read a book from John U. Cheddar, which is from the same category as John U. Bacon's, but I don't know the book of which you speak, so go ahead.
The Gales of November.
Oh, hell yeah. I should have known this. Yes. I got news for you. It leaves you with a sinking feeling, just so you know. I do know how the book ends. This is the tale of the Edmund Fitzgerald, correct?
This is the tale of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Yes.
Joel, I have always had
50th anniversary.
Listen, I've always had beef with Gordon Lightfoot, okay? Because Gordon Lightfoot in his song saying, it says in the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, he says, the church bell chimed, it chimed 29 times for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald. And I've always had beef with that because it actually chimed 29 times once for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald. The way that he does it indicates that it's 29 per person, right? And 29 times 29 would be what? Some 842, something like that. It didn't chime that many times.
That's a lot of chiming.
Yeah, that's right. Gordon,
no, that's an excellent point.
Gordon, a little sloppy. By the way, Gordon Lightfoot also wrote Sundown about the woman that was his mistress at the time, who later went on to become the mistress that was with John Belushi on the night he died. But that's a different talk show. But I'm glad you're going to enjoy your beer while you read your book. And the Beer Fairy is happy to know that the Beer Fairy had a good delivery. Now, let's get back to this in terms of delivery for the Colts. Do you feel Phillip Rivers delivered, and do you think Shane Steichen delivered the right game plan for him?
It was the right game plan for that game. Rivers executed, honestly, better than I thought he would in terms of how many passes he completed. For that game, like I said, it's the right one because that defense picks off a lot of passes. They sacked quarterback a lot. Ultimately, though, it ended up, to me, just sort of highlighting how the predicament the Colts are in without Daniel Jones as a starting quarterback. Because if you have to run that sort of game plan where you need everything to go just perfectly, it's just not a way to make the playoffs. But here's the thing: like when you're down to your number 3 quarterback, and you're calling in Phillip Rivers from, Fairhope, Alabama, to do it, that's kind of the spot you're in, and that would be true if it was Riley Leonard. That would be true if it was Mellinger. Whenever you get to your number 3 option at quarterback in the NFL, you're in a bad spot.
And I don't know this answer, Joel. If the Colts were to lose Monday night to San Francisco, not saying it's going to happen, but if they were to lose Monday night to San Francisco, in other words, there is no chance they are eliminated from the postseason mathematically. As a matter of fact, they would not. The latest game in which they would be eliminated would be going into Week 17. Am I correct?
I think so.
So that gives them, because the reason I ask, if they are eliminated from the postseason, do we assume that means Phillip Rivers then hops a ride with the beer ferry back to Alabama?
That is a fantastic question. I would think so, but I don't. But also Phillip Rivers is, the kind of guy who duty and honor, that stuff. So maybe he would stick around. But yes, I would think if they got eliminated, that would be the end of it.
But once they're eliminated, they don't have, and I hate to say this because he's a good dude, but they don't have any use for him at that point, because at that point you have two quarterbacks that you have to see something from, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if you're eliminated from the playoffs, it changes the equation entirely. And so, yeah, that's kind of what you're expecting. But, I've I've been wrong about this Colts team a few times this year, and so it's making me hedge my bets.
By the way, have you ever listened to, Joel, speaking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, have you ever listened to the radio transmission of the captain that was in the ship that they asked to go back and check on the Fitzgerald?
Yes, I have.
I don't mean to make light of this. I mean, it was 50 years ago. There are still obviously, I would imagine many of the men that perished have kids that are around my age now. But I don't know that I've ever heard a radio transmission of a dude that less wanted to do what he was being asked than that guy, right? And I don't blame him, right? But he literally is like, I don't know. The sea's pretty large out there. You could tell this guy was sitting down with a book and a delivery from the beer ferry and had zero interest, correct?
Yeah, that's definitely there. There's a piece. I'm only like 100 and something pages in right now, but there's a piece about like a rescue from one of the other freighters that went down before the Fitz, and it's the rescue sounds almost as bad as the sinking, if that makes any sense.
It had to have been treacherous as can be, right? I mean, this guy, and I'll give him credit. I mean, the captain, Anderson, I think is his name. Mm-hmm. He was the ship that was, and I believe he was in front of the Fitzgerald, if I'm not mistaken. But when they radioed to him, they're like, hey, can you turn around and go back? And I think ultimately he did do so, actually. And it wasn't that but he was just saying, like, look, this is literally the worst we've ever seen. I mean, he was like, they're holding their own there. And then he wanted no part of it, man. You could tell. I mean, it's kind of haunting, actually.
The waves and everything. So obviously being from Wisconsin, I've been by, Gitchigumi and by Lake Michigan quite a bit, but I've never been on them. And the waves out where it's, where you have a freighter going in the Great Lakes can be pretty intense. And I can't imagine trying to, one of the haunting things from the book so far is they say those freighters were so long that like the front of the freighter could be in one wave and the back of the wave, the freighter could be in the other wave, and the middle is just suspended above the water, which is terrifying.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you know this or not, but the waves turn the minutes to hours. Now, and the Edmund Fitzgerald, Joel, true story. The Edmund Fitzgerald, if you had stood it upright, was taller than the Salesforce Tower in Indianapolis. That's how long it was. I mean, that gives you an idea how big it was. All right, before we let you go, just kind of overall, if you could, coming off of this game, there just kind of seems to be this unknown about the Colts, and we'll get into it a later time, whether or not Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen are back. We can get, with the injuries themselves, Mooney Ward, I have real question about whether or not he comes back next year, but that remains to be seen, right? Other players, you wonder if they come back. In terms of the health status right now of players for availability that could be working their way back in or miss the game against San Francisco, run down for me those players, and then run down for me what you anticipate seeing, if anything, different in terms of their use of Phillip Rivers from what we saw against Seattle.
Yeah, I think the big two that stick out in my mind are DeForest Buckner, who practiced last week but wasn't able to go. If you can get him back, that helps. I mean, this pass rush only has 2 sacks in the last 3 weeks. I don't know that you're going to get Buckner, the full DeForest Buckner, coming off of this injury, but he would still help. And then I'm also very curious to find out, does Sauce Gardner
start to make his way back from the calf. He's been out a couple of weeks now. I don't know. The calf strains are obviously tricky, and I think if you watch NBA basketball, you're aware that those things tend to linger. So maybe we don't see him. But the other one that could help considerably for this team in terms of injury, and then the other one is just, do they have their left tackle? Because this is a 49ers team that does not rush the passer well at all this season. They're 32nd in sacks, 32nd in sack rate. They're 31st in pressure rate. They only have 16 sacks on the season. Their lead guy has 4. But that kind of evens out if you're going against 2 backup tackles instead of against Bernard Ryman and Jalen Travis. So I think that's the other one that those 3 right there would really, really change, I think, the picture a little bit. And then in terms of Rivers, like, how many of those back shoulders does his arm have in him? That's my question.
And I mean, didn't Seattle kind of, to me, Joel, and I didn't mean to cut you off there, but yes, because Seattle, I think, kind of they kind of let him do, like, okay, let's see what you got here, right? And then once they kind of had an idea, then they were able to kind of push forward. They knew they didn't have to drop several back. They could spy on Taylor that way. They didn't have to blitz because they didn't want Taylor running through a blitz, because they just kind of sat back, and Indianapolis could not move the ball. So did they put the blueprint there for San Francisco?
Yeah, if you're Robert Saleh, you're thinking, I got to move my guys forward. The other thing that's interesting is that San Francisco's defense this year essentially is allowing teams to just do what Rivers did, essentially. They're just letting teams complete a lot of passes and throw short. They've given up a very high completion percentage, but they haven't given up that many points because they're incredible in the red zone. And then you figure, well, can they move them forward a little bit, not have to worry about, say, like if you have a different quarterback in this game, then you are terrified about Alec Pierce getting over the top on you. You're probably not worried about that.
Right.
But their style of play is sort of to let you do what Rivers was doing last week, and then just kind of take advantage of it and let you not score enough points on your drives, and then you end up losing.
Okay, Joel, before we let you go, because the wires are getting stepped on again here, and your voice is a little, like right there, you're a little giggle. It's fun, right? So if you could, and I'll give you dealer, or not dealers, but recipient's choice. We need you to either say, follow the yellow brick road, we represent the Lollipop Guild, or declare that the witch is dead. Whichever one you'd like.
Follow the yellow brick road.
Now, did you alter your voice in doing that in any way, shape, or form?
No, and I don't know what just happened on the other end, so I'm mystified.
We'll send it to you.
I assumed it was going to play me in the next time I'm on.
Well, listen. Can you do it one more time?
Follow the yellow brick road.
All right, Joe. We'll let you go down the yellow brick road. I appreciate it as always. He's a good sport, Joe Nathaniel, and doesn't even know that he's being a good sport, right? I mean, you got to listen, lemonade and lemons, right? You get lemons, you make lemonade with it. I mean, why not have fun with it? We'll get it all worked out. We'll get it all figured out. We get the gist of what he's saying. But that was solid. Did you record that already? Can we play that again?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead and fire that up again.
Well, I don't have it ready, but it's recorded.
Oh, but when you got it ready, like, I want to hear that again, because that was grade A. I mean, Ralph was good and Agnes was good, but that was top of the line. We didn't get Stephanie to do one, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, I think Joel's the clubhouse leader here, right? Is it not?
I think that's fair to say.
Totally solid from Joel Erickson. But like I said, when it comes to the way that San Francisco, if I'm San Francisco, I look at it and I say, okay, it's really simple. When Phillip Rivers is under center, then I think in the beginning they were tempted to blitz and like, we got to get after Phillip Rivers and bring the heat. But then they very quickly figured out We don't even need to do that because his range is so limited. He did throw that fabulous pass to Alec Pierce, but for the most part, he is now a dink and dunk quarterback, which is fine. But between his lack of mobility and his lack of long ball range, you knew, look, we can – the curveball here is you have Amir Abdullah that they're now bringing out of the backfield, and you have Jonathan Taylor. So we can't blitz and bring too many because then if they are able to get beyond the line, then they've got open space there. So they said, you know what, we're just going to drop back, stack it right there 5 yards off the line, and see if Rivers can throw over that. And he couldn't. And Taylor couldn't run through it. And that would seemingly be the blueprint that you would assume San Francisco holds with. Oh, okay, do we have each? Do we have each
of them? Not to interrupt you here, but what do you do when you're looking for the Wizard of Oz?
Okay, that's Joel, right? Do we have Scott from yesterday? We don't have that, do we?
I don't know.
Do we? Now, what did we have Stephanie say?
Follow the yellow brick road, I believe.
Now, here's what we're going to do. We got to do like a competition. I'll send you. I've got Scott from yesterday. We've got to see which one was the best. I think it may have been. I think Joel was the best, right?
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think I think that one was the best one. But we'll make a sporting competition out of all of it.
And these guys will never call us again.
Oh no, they will. Listen. I have, again, Nathaniel, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was on that late night bus in St. Louis and I heard the rustling and literally, and there was a bit of a chill on the bus. And St. Louis is a hot, humid town. Just a slight illumination in the interior of the bus. Only the driver up front, but the driver was in a different area of the bus. And I heard this little rustling of a noise, and that's when, I looked down, and there it was, just this glistening of light, and it was the beer ferry. And the beer ferry told me, I live in St. Louis. This is the worst town to be the beer ferry because no one needs beer delivered. The entire city works for Anheuser-Busch, and they all get their own free allotment every other Thursday. They open their trunk. They get 2 cases of either Busch, Bud, or Bud Light. And the beer ferry was legitimately depressed. And I said, well, I live in Indianapolis, and there are times I might meet people that could use the services of a beer ferry. And so the beer ferry said, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. And I have worked as an intermediary for the beer ferry in helping out people like Joel to get beer from places from afar that they can't normally get. So, for example, the beer ferry has a network of people, and I was in Wisconsin, and the beer ferry got me in touch with the Wisconsin chapter, and Joel told me specifically what he wanted, and the beer ferry delivered it. Now, the pay for that, the beer ferry wants no money. The beer ferry wants no money. The beer ferry simply wants the recipient to know that it means that they should do nice things as a token of appreciation for the facilitator. So I'm not saying that we're bribing Joel to come on the program. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying I'm offering rendering payment for it. But there's a system of reciprocity here. There's a friendship that takes place where he says, you know what, no problem. Even when we mockingly play clips of him doing sound bits from The Wizard of Oz, like the one, Nathaniel, you just played that we'll play again right here, right? Even when we are replaying the clips like the one we're going to play right here. Now, that's Ralph. No beer ferry distribution to Ralph. But with Joel will continue to come on even though we play this. Scott Agnes was solid yesterday, but I think Ralph Reefer's pretty solid. Play Ralph again. It's pretty good, man. Did you find Stephanie's?
We didn't ask Stephanie to. We had asked her if she could wade through sounding like helium. She said, "Yeah, I got it mixed up."
Okay. I couldn't remember either. We'll come back just about 20 minutes from now, by the way. Actually, a little over that, about 30 minutes from now. JMV will be here as part of the crossover, brought to you by Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com is the website, 317-353-2141.
Welcome to Wawa. We're open 24/7, so when the sun goes down but everyone's still up, Wawa has your late night fuel. Headed to a hangout? Stop in for snacks and sodas. Binge your favorite shows with burgers and hoagies. Gather around the table with garlic knots and a cheesy Wawa pizza. Or just chill on the couch with fries and whatever milkshake sounds good. Your night just got a whole lot tastier. Freshly made burgers, pizza, and so much more. When you got a late night craving, you got a Wawa. Price and participation may vary by store.
The Butler basketball season is rolling along. Don't miss your chance to get in on the action. Your next chance to get to Hinkle Fieldhouse to cheer on your Butler Bulldogs is Monday, December 22nd, when the Dogs take on NJIT at 2 p.m. A weekday matinee. Come see the sunlight shine through the windows at iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse. With most students home for break, there are some great unique seating options, so buy your tickets now at butlersports.com/buy tickets. Be a part of Hinkle Magic and make Hinkle your second home this season.
Hey, Colts fans, Crown Royal is a proud partner of the Indianapolis Colts, and this season it's not game day without the generous spirit of Crown Royal. Whether you're at the tailgate, in the stands, or watching from home, Crown Royal is the reason and the reward for coming together. Grab a glass with the Crown Royal rig at a stadium near you, because we'll be sharing the generous spirit with fans across the country. Crown Royal, fueling game day with a generous spirit. Visit www.crownroyal.com/Royal Rig for more on the Crown Royal Rig Tour. Please drink responsibly.
It happens every holiday. Food comas, naps, piles of wrapping paper. Then Cousin John rolls in with holiday scratch-offs from the Hoosier Lottery. And just like that, the holiday fun is back in play. Hoosier Lottery, champions of play. Gift responsibly.
Get ready to hoop. It's back. Time to try your skills at Night Owls Thursday, December 18th with the fans' very own Jake Query from 7:30 to 9:30 with Michelob Ultra's Mini Hoops Challenge. Michelob Ultra Mini Hoops Challenge gives you a chance to win a Michelob Ultra basketball jersey and punch your ticket to the Mini Hoops Finals, where a trip to see Indiana versus Milwaukee in Milwaukee on February 6th is on the line. Complete with a hotel gift card and $100 Visa gift card. Visit 1075thefan.com today to see all the locations and details.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed tax professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Every day, penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
With Wawa's Rewards program, you can rack up points on the items you buy every day, even fuel. Boost your totals with a breakfast sizzly. Score points with your morning coffee. With Wawa Rewards, points put the power in your hands. You can choose to redeem them for what you love most, like an iced latte for an extra pick-me-up or your lunchtime hoagie. Download the Wawa app today. When you gotta get rewarded, you gotta Wawa. Fuel rewards not available in New Jersey or were legally prohibited. See full details at wawarewards.com. Price and participation may vary by store.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions
Progressive
required.
knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like rugs. People say a rug would really bring the room together. And sure, you don't know what that means, but it sounds important. Suddenly you're using words like jute and sisal. Then you see the price and lose it, because how can the thing you walk and spill on cost so much? So you devote your life to taking down Big Rug. But then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds. So, looks like Big Rug is safe. For now. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
JMV here for my friends John and Chris Love at Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Make sure your home is cozy and comfortable during these icy cold winter months. Need heating service? Tell them JMV sent you. If a repair is needed, Love will waive the $95 service fee. And should you need a new furnace, Love is a Heil Heating and Cooling dealer. Call Love today, 317-353-2141. Let Love and Heil take care of your home today. 317-353-2141. Tell them JMV sent you. Hey, JMV, thinning hair this year? Grow your hair back like I did. Call 317-522-2995 or visit WeGrowHairIndy.com today.
If it's happening with the Indianapolis Colts. Touchdown for the Colts, and it's Josh Downs. Then it's happening on the Fan. It's wow. It's good from 60. Blake Groupie. Picked off by the Seahawks. Final score, it's Seattle 18 and the Indianapolis Colts 16. Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
The official home of the Indy Sports Fan.
Thank you, by the way, to Stephanie White, Ralph Reef, Joel A. Erickson, all for joining the program. Nathaniel, don't call me Atticus Finch, has been manning the controls today. Eddie back tomorrow, is that right?
We'll see if the Hat Guild Federation place lets him.
The Big Hat Federation. That's correct. Well, he's the Big Head Federation, but now he's doing the lighting. I think the lighting that he's helping put up out at the fairgrounds, I believe they take Thursdays off. So he may be in here. And, of course, there's a Pacers game tomorrow night as well. Pacers-Knicks tomorrow night. Knicks are, of course, the NBA in-season champion, right?
Hopefully they partied like crazy and still are.
That's right. All kinds of champagne flowing, right? Speaking of, by the way, celebrations and tomorrow night and the Pacers, I will be at Night Owls at 3535 South Emerson tomorrow night, beginning at 7:30. This is part of our friends at Mick Ultra. I love it. Mick Ultra, we do basically the mini ball Pop a Shot competition. And you go out. It's very simple. Come out, have a Mick Ultra, enjoy the atmosphere. We'll be watching the Pacers game. I would love to see everybody. I'm rarely down there in the Beech Grove area in terms of, I don't mean I'm rarely down there. I love that area, but I'm rarely down in terms of like being on remotes and things like that. So, because I'm not out and about with this time frame as much. So tomorrow night, 7:30 to 9:30, I will be there. Come out, try your luck. Try to record the high score. You get the high score for the night, you're going to win a Mick Ultra jersey. You're going to get your score recorded and written down. And then your chance to advance into the finals, all told, after the stops that we do. We already have done this. One stop at Binkley's, which was awesome. Binkley's in basically South Broderpool, Kessler and College. And Binkley's, I love Binkley's in general. I've been to Binkley's a gabillion times over the course of my years. And one of the things amongst many that I love about Binkley's right now is they have decided, Courtney kind of just said, you know what? You had the old Union Jack Speedway location off of Crawfordsville. And I love Union Jack in Broderpool. They're not related. The two of them are no longer affiliated. The Union Jack in Broderpool, I believe, was after the one in Speedway had opened. And at one time, they were under the same umbrella. They are no longer. The Speedway location closed, and it was literally, that was the spot for Indy 500 memorabilia and just war stories and, you know, Bobby Unser going in there and hanging out and et cetera, et cetera. And Binkley's has done a remarkable job. Subtle, that's what I like about it. There's a subtlety just in terms of almost like the molding around the wall itself of nothing but, I mean, by the dozens, historic Indianapolis 500 black and white photos, winter photos, qualifying photos, all of it. Linda Vaughn, Parnelli, Uncle Bobby, Little Al, Mario, all kinds of signed memorabilia stuff. And they have one room in there that is essentially, they have two private dining rooms at Binkley's, but one of them is designed around the 500. It is super cool. And it goes without saying. They got a great menu. And the Met Culture that we had there, it was fun doing the competition. And then the high score, I believe Glenn got the high score that night. That means that he is eligible to advance amongst the other finalists at the end of this tour that we're doing with Mick Ultra. And again, going to be at 3535 South Emerson, 7:30 tomorrow night. Ultimate prize. Go to Milwaukee, early February, tickets, hotel voucher, see Miles Turner taking on his former team, taking on the blue and gold in Milwaukee, and you will be there. And I look forward to it tenfold. We talked earlier at the beginning of the show about this, and Joel just mentioned it. The situation of Shane Steichen answering the question, and I think it is a very fair question. And I'm not certain that I believe his answer. I totally understand that Anthony Richardson is coming off an injury that is of significance, an orbital bone fracture. I mean, that's painful to even say. A fracture in the bone of your eye socket. Brutal. And Anthony Richardson, it's at no fault of his. The guy he wasn't riding around on a sport bike. He wasn't snowboarding, dare I say it, in this town. He wasn't water skiing. He was literally stretching before a game, and the contraption snapped back and hit him in the eye. It is horrific. And I have no reason to believe that Anthony Richardson is anything other than a very likable young guy and a great story. But when he came out of Florida, the narrative on Anthony Richardson was that he was injury-prone and immature. And the injury-prone aspect has certainly followed him. The immaturity, that's not up for me to determine, other than to go by what they have told me publicly. And Shane Steichen has said in not so many terms that's exactly the challenge and the issue. He is a player that, what did Shane Steichen keep saying? It's in totality. It's in the meeting rooms. It's all-encompassing. It's not just what happens on the field. And in the case of Richardson, the helmet tap was probably the beginning of it all, right? And they brought in Daniel Jones perhaps to offer guidance, perhaps to offer insurance, or perhaps because they knew right there, this guy's a better player. And we know what happened with Daniel Jones. Shane Steichen yesterday was kind of caught in his wording a little bit. When Joel asked him, hey, you're saying that you're going with Phillip Rivers on Sunday night because he gives you the better chance to win, but also because right now Richardson needs to get back into like complete physical shape. Physical activity shape, I believe was the wording. And you have a 44-year-old guy, you have Anthony Richardson Sr., and then on the other hand, you have a guy that's basically a senior citizen. And the 44-year-old guy who clearly has put on weight and has been, his extent of physical activity has been, yeah, I'm sure he was working out, hitting the treadmill, watching Landman during some elliptical sessions. I get it. But he was a high school football coach that has not thrown a pass in nearly 5 years in the NFL, and you more trust his physical traits and ability right now than a guy because he missed 4 weeks? And Anthony Richardson is a guy that one of the selling cards about him, the selling point about him, the narrative from the Colts, not from me, not from Nathaniel, not from James, not from John, not from Kevin, not from Jeff. The Colts are the ones that said, we would have taken him number 1 overall because he is so physically gifted. And I would think that even 70% of that physically gifted, still, you look at it and say, that would give us a chance to win, or we want to see what we can out of him before we analyze and assess going forward. Do we bring back Daniel Jones? Do we sign him? Do we keep around Riley Leonard, who's our backup for next year, etc.? And I get the fact that you're talking about that eye injury is a tenuous thing. But why not just come out and say, guys, listen, because he was cleared to play, because he was cleared for activity on the field, doesn't mean that he is cleared for contact. And if he had said that, everyone would have gone, I totally get it. An eye fracture. But by saying it's more than that, it's just getting him into like playing type shape. What? That to me is Shane Steichen all but saying, I'm not interested in having the guy on the field. I don't think it's a personal thing. I don't think it's a character thing. I just think it's a lack of maturity thing, or more so, a lack of skill of the position. If Anthony Richardson had within him any trace of what they saw as a guy at that size and that athleticism after the number of starts that he's had, if they felt that he could still go out and give them a chance, a puncher's chance to win games, they'd be doing everything they can to expedite him being on the field. Because you still have him for the future. You still have him, if you so chose, for beyond this year. There's no reason not to continue to kick the tires on that and see what's there, especially right now. And if you want to tell me they can't afford to do that right now because they are still in playoff contention, I would say to you, then why did you draft a guy 5th overall as a quarterback that when it came down to it, you cannot trust in the biggest of moments, in the biggest of games? That is the Colts saying right there, he's a bust. And even though they're not saying it in that language, it appears to be the first time they are insinuating to all of us, read the tea leaves, folks. Read the room. Read the room. We've moved on from it. I don't know that that's fact, but it feels that way. Crossover's next.
Heat and cool places where ductwork won't fit using Mitsubishi electric ductless mini splits. You can even wrap them to match your decor.
Find out more at absolutecomfort.org.
Do you suffer from sore feet, back, knee, or hip pain? The Good Feet Arch Support System has helped many people find relief, like Tim.
I'm always telling my colleagues who have sore feet, this is the greatest thing. I'll even take my shoe off and show them. And I believe in the product so much. When you have something that works, you kind of want to share it with people. It worked for me, maybe it can work for you.
Or do you wake up at night with heel pain, like Crystal?
I would wake up in the middle of the night with all kinds of pain in my heels and in my arch. So I went to the Good Feet store, and ever since then, I've been pain-free. I wear them every day. I wear them when I walk, at the gym, when I work. They're great.
Get back to walking, working, and exercising, and imagine a life without pain. No shots, no surgery, no medication. You've got nothing to lose but your pain. Stop into the Good Feet store today for a free fitting and test walk. We're located in Castleton by the Fashion Mall, or in Greenwood, just off the 65.
Thanks to the Good Feet store. Thanks to the Good Feet store.
You'll get more than you expect with McValue at McDonald's. Like deals on your late night go-tos when the party goes till dawn. And savings on their faves. So date night always passes the vibe check. Plus, when the fam shows up for the weekend, you can show out for breakfast.
Enjoy a $3 sausage McMuffin with egg or egg McMuffin and pair it with a $1.49 any size Coke. Price of participation may vary, cannot be combined with any other offer.
Hey there, Jake Query for Surfside. Look for the can with the sunset stripes. Surfside, just 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, and no carbonation, so smooth. It is iced tea with a splash of vodka, lemonade with a splash of vodka, or iced tea and lemonade with a splash of vodka. I absolutely love Surfside, and I know that you will as well. Surfside, look for it wherever you find your favorite adult beverages. Please be 21 and please drink responsibly.
This Christmas, get a bonus AI Essentials course when you enroll in any My Computer Career IT program by the end of the year. That's a $3,900 value. Attend classes online or on campus. Enjoy lifetime job placement support and IT certifications in high demand. Go to mycomputercareer.edu today and take the free career evaluation. That's mycomputercareer.edu, an elite CompTIA certification partner. Conditions apply to AI offer, and financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill.
Food insecurity is an urgent problem, one that impacts real Hoosiers. You can help today. Gleaners needs donations. Your contribution goes further with Gleaners. For every $10 you give, Gleaners leverages their resources to turn your $10 into $90 worth of groceries for families who desperately need help right now. Your gift benefits local community members, and every dollar counts. Gleaners also needs volunteers now to help with warehouse distribution. Go to gleaners.org and donate or get involved today.
It's Terry Stacy for Cynthia's Hallmark, and this Christmas, give her something she'll treasure forever. The most sought-after jewelry in the country, E. Newton. Timeless, elegant, and designed for everyday wear. And don't forget the classic Ronaldo bracelets, hand-wired with care in New Albany, Indiana, and these gifts are gifts she will truly love. E. Newton and Ronaldo are available only at Cynthia's Hallmark in Greenfield, and if you're looking for relaxation as a gift, explore the Lemon Lavender Collection. Pampering spa day favorites, perfect for anyone who could use a little comfort this season. And you've got to feel the lavender-scented Warm Pals. They're gently weighted, warm or cool, and designed to give that soothing hug-like feeling. Gifts that fit every budget for every person on your list. You'll find just the right presents at Cynthia's Hallmark, including gift cards. Make your holiday giving meaningful, memorable, and magical. Shop locally owned Cynthia's Hallmark, celebrating 40 years.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get super sure. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, but super sure. Coming soon.
Oklahoma hosts Alabama in round one of the college football playoff. Friday night at 7:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Crossover upcoming. J&V is here. Love-HVAC.com is the website. 317-353-2141, the telephone number for the very best. An official Heil Heating and Cooling dealer is Love Heating and Air. They have been around for over 100 years in central Indiana since 1920. Love Heating and Air. Speaking of John and basketball, as we were talking about the fact the Pacers back in action, Knicks tomorrow night, Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I will be down and look forward to seeing everybody from 7:30 until 9:30 tomorrow night. If you are not going to the game, then certainly come by Night Owls, and I will be there in Beech Grove along with our friends from Mick Ultra. But Indiana State and Matthew Graves want to welcome him back. Again, Matthew Graves, who had triple bypass surgery, and and that was not like a scheduled surgery. He, several months ago, of course, at the beginning of the basketball season, was not feeling well and went in, and they immediately realized that there was, I would assume, blockage, and so triple bypass. And, I know I did not have triple bypass. I mean, don't get me wrong here. I'm not even comparing what I went through to that. But as somebody that had, 100% blockage and a widowmaker, there is a feeling of health and physical vulnerability that is just very psychologically tough to overcome. So for Matthew Graves to get out, even though he is not returning to the Indiana State basketball team at this point on a 100% basis, but being on the sidelines, being around it, psychologically, emotionally, I know that's very important, but also on top of that, just the psychology of it and the feeling of return to normalcy. And once he goes through that, I can't speak for him, but I can speak from my own experience, that once you go through each thing for the first time after, once you have items placed in your heart and you feel that vulnerability or you're aware of it, then that becomes, each step like that is so important, because you just think, okay, now I've gone through that now. Now I know I can do that. My body can respond to things, and I'm not as vulnerable as I thought. It's an interesting dynamic. You see it a lot of times as well with professional athletes that come back from injury. That even when the knee is 100%, the ankle is 100%, the Achilles is 100%, the peace of mind or the confidence to make a cut, to make a move, all of those things take time. And there is a psychological hurdle that needs to take place in order for the athlete to feel like back at 100%. And in the case of this, just being out there and having the confidence that his body is going to be able to get through it. JMV has arrived. It is indeed time for the crossover, and he has got on a pretty sweet Chess King shirt. Spencer Gifts and merry-go-round.
Mike, can I choose from? This one good?
That looks good to me. Can we hear it? I think we can hear it. How was your birthday?
That was awesome. Thank you for asking. Good time, especially that time when I was on the air when I didn't know it. That was fun.
48, is that what you turned?
What's that?
48 years old?
5'6", big fella.
5'6".
I hooped last
11
night
years
until
away
11
from the range of
o'clock.
6'7", right?
Yeah, I hooped last night like a madman. You brought up something, because you brought up Chess King, and obviously I got my first pair of parachute pants at Chess King. That was a very important moment in my life. But is there any, and people are going to say, well, you and Jake are kids of the 80s, you're always going to love the 80s more. There is no debate. The 80s is absolutely the best decade of all time. All these other decades suck. Seriously. All of them.
And you know what was such an epicenter of all of that was indeed, and John, I had to ask, we probably mentioned this before, but I had to ask my mom this once because I was like, was I hallucinating? So I asked my mom, I said, Mom, in my mind, I can remember like weekends like this when it was cold and whatever. My mom and Jason Keller's mom and Matt Churchman's mom and Andy Burt's mom carpooling. One of them would literally drop us off, John, at the mall for like 4 hours at the age of, I'm talking when I was like 10 years old. And literally the other one's mom would come pick us up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you'd spend all your time at Chess King and Spencer Gifts. And I mean, I can still remember the exact order of the
I love me some
merry-go-round had
Fun Spray.
parachute pants too, right? And then obviously Aladdin's Castle or Times Square, any of the arcades.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the social epicenter was the mall. It was massive.
It was, and it was about socializing
Totally.
too. That's what it was. I mean, I chased chicks all over the place in the Bloomington College Mall, and they all said no, but it was a rite of passage.
And like the rivalry of meeting kids from another school
Right.
and that kind of thing.
Jake, the moment somebody from Bloomington North or Bloomington South or Bloomington or Ellettsville or Edgewood, and I don't know why they thought they were holier than thou, but the moment they found out I was from Eastern and Greene County, it was over. I had no choice. It was done.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's a caste system, right?
Yeah, it is.
Now, let me ask you this. The fashion of then at Chess King, for example, or merry-go-round was another big one. Parachute pants and then zipper pants, both.
Yeah.
Those are two things that have never come back.
Yeah.
Right? They've never
it's
come
weird.
back.
And I would buy a
Would
pair
you
of
rock some parachute
I
pants?
would do it right now. And in fact, if somebody could tell me out there where I can buy a pair of parachute pants, and I've looked at Goodwill and I haven't found a pair yet, but if you can locate them for me, I'll buy them and wear them. I would love that. I love parachute pants.
Did they have multiple pockets in them?
Yeah, and for today, that's built for speed because we carry all this crap around.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They're basically were like super comfortable cargo pants.
Correct, Amundo, right there. Hey, I'm going to come up with a new sponsorship for those moments where James can just put me on the air when I'm off the air to see what I say. Like the off-the-air times.
Listen.
Hey, let's see what. Let's listen into what JMV is saying when he doesn't think he's on the air.
You might get more opportunity, right?
I can't wait. So anybody wants to sponsor that, we're wide open for sponsorship.
Did you have a waterbed too? By the way, that kind of went with the parachute.
I did not have a waterbed, but I did go a number of times to Big Sur waterbeds. Big Sur. I have a commercial that runs on the JMV Takeover. That's Big Sur.
Love it, man. Waterbeds were massive. I remember having to drain mine once. I think it flooded. It looked like our old parking building on P2.
Put the garden hose into it out the window.
That's right. All right, John's up next. Big show lined up. He will bring you home today. We'll be back with you at noon tomorrow. Thanks to Joel Erickson, Stephanie White, Ralph Reef, and don't forget, follow the Yellow Brick Road. Talk to you at noon tomorrow.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Your home for indie sports. Now with even more ways to listen.
Listen on air.
Online at 1075thefan.com.
And on our free app.
Stay connected to all things indie sports, including the latest news, show